A very good afternoon and welcome to coverage of the 7th and final T20 international between Pakistan and England. Series level currently at 3 matches all. And England will be looking to try and take the momentum. Well, both sides will, heading into next month's World Cup. As we see the toss taking place around about 15 minutes or so ago, usually has been won by Pakistan, who have, for the majority of this series, had to do whatever Moeen Ali wants to do, because the England captain has tended to be winning the toss during this series so far. But Pakistan have won it. They've elected to have a bowl first, and England make one change. Gleeson out, Wokes in, and for Pakistan, 3 changes: Haris Dahani and Jamal out. In comes Rizwan, Ralph and Hasnain. I'll go through the full teams shortly, but alongside me, both Atif Nawaz and also former England wicketkeeper back James Foster, who's coached in the PSL, in the IPL, and with the England Test side this summer. Has been keeping a close eye on this series with us. Atif, first of all, it's the conclusion that we all wanted, because we've got the series level at 3-all, and we've got a finale that now gives us the chance for one side almost to win this little mini tournament. Good afternoon to you.
Yes, good afternoon, Henry. Good afternoon, everybody. Yeah, it's exactly the climax this series deserved, and it's wonderful to see, because I mean, you couldn't get 2 teams with more different styles in terms of the way they approach modern T20 cricket, and you get the feeling the England team, is closer to what you need to win modern T20 cricket. But just to have that Pakistan side put in some memorable performances against a world-class team on their home turf in Lahore and Karachi before that, it's been absolutely delightful. And just, from a personal perspective, it's been really, really nice to have, the focus of the world be on Pakistan and their beautiful stadiums, the great culture, the great cities that they are. And hopefully this is really just the start of more and more trips to that part of the world for England.
James, you know what cricket culture is like in Pakistan, and you know exactly what this series will mean to cricket supporters. It has lived up to everything we could have hoped for, because ahead of it we thought 7 matches. Feels rather a lot.
Yeah, it's been stunning to watch this series all the way through, and being fortunate enough to be out there during the PSL, during the Pakistan Super League. And the atmosphere is absolutely buzzing when you get to the ground. Some of the games that we played at, the noise has almost been deafening. And I've been involved in some sides. We've had some English players playing and facing the first ball of the game. For example, Tom Banton faced the first ball, has been played in Maltown for the first time for a good period of time, something like 15 years, whatever it might have been. And he really struggled to concentrate when that first ball came down from big, tall Mohammed Irfan. So it's absolutely great to see. Obviously, there's been a few challenges in Pakistan at the moment, so just to give the public some joy with some quality cricket has been wonderful.
Atif, we expected Pakistan to make the changes perhaps that they have, because last match that England won to level this series quite convincingly in the end, there was no Mohammed Rizwan at the top of the order. There was no Haris Ralph, who's been such an effective bowler, not just at sort of one phase of the innings, but right through the innings. They call back the big players for this series decider.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it just shows you that they're both very, very keen to win, these 2 teams. It's not just about, learning things or building or preparation of the World Cup. That's very important, but also you want to win the game that you're playing. You want to win this series. It's a historic series. People will remember it, so you want your best possible chance. One does feel a little bit for Mohammed Haris not getting more of a run, because it's hard to see when that will happen now, especially if Rizwan continues to play the way he's been playing. He's played 5 matches so far in this series and scored 450s. So 450s out of 5 matches. He didn't play the last one, obviously, just getting a little bit of rest in as well. He took a nasty little blow on the back from David Milan's throw. So, I think they did the right thing in just giving him 1 game break. But yeah, I mean, Haris Rauf as well. That's the one thing that was kind of lacking in Pakistan's bowling the previous time. When Hales and Salt were going really hard in those early overs, we didn't see those changes of pace. We didn't see too much of a plan B. I mean, there was an over early from Shahnawaz Dahani where he went for 24, and just every ball was pace on and pace on. He didn't really looked like he was experimenting. The experience of a bowler like Haris Rauf, you'd think in that situation would stand you in better stead.
For England, one change sees Chris Woakes back into the side, Richard Gleeson out. The word on Mark Wood is just not being risked ahead of the World Cup, and that is understandable. He's shown that he's got fitness, he's got pace, all those things that England would have wanted him to prove after that injury, James. And you can understand why they've made the decision, look, let's just not take any chances.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. I mean, I think we were chatting about it earlier, there's maybe around about 6 more games in Australia. A series against Australia and a couple of warm-up matches for the World Cup. So it makes sense, A, to rest him here, give him a little bit more time with the recovery, and then using him in the conditions which you're going to be experiencing during the World Cup rather than maybe wasting some overs here. Yes, there's no doubt England would love him to be playing today, no doubt that he wishes he was playing today, but it's the right call.
Well, that England team looks like this. Phil Salt and Alex Hales at the top of the order. Phil Salt having really impressed in the last game. There was a little bit of a question as to, and remains a question, who's going to be opening the batting with Jos Buttler when that World Cup begins. But 88 not out in the last game after 3 single-figure scores will have done an awful lot of good to Phil Salt. Alex Hales, meanwhile, well, he could do with a score because all of the excitement that came with his 50 in that return match at the start of this series, which feels an awful long time ago now, well, it's not really happened for him since then, though he did play an encouraging knock in that blitz early on in the run chase a couple of days ago. David Milan is at 3. Ben Duckett, who's been superb throughout the series, is at 4. Harry Brook, a similarly impressive time of it for him. And then Moeen Ali, the captain, Sam Curran, Chris Woakes, David Willey, Adil Rashid, and Reece Topley. So that is how England line up. Pakistan, who have won the toss, will be bowling first. Have Babar Azam at the top of the order himself, making 87 not out in the last game. Mohammad Rizwan is back in the side, the world's number 1 T20 batter. Shan Masood, Iftikhar Ahmed, Shadab Khan, Kushdil Shah, Asif Ali, Mohammad Nawaz, Mohammad Wasim, Haris Rauf, and Mohammad Hasnain. So Hasnain also back into this Pakistan side. Atif, how close is that 11 to the 11 that we'll expect to see once the World Cup begins?
I think pretty close. I think Shaheen Afridi you'd think would come back in by then. I mean, that's the hope that he'll be back from injury and available to Pakistan again. But I think that is pretty close to what you expect to see starting in Pakistan. James and I were just looking a little bit earlier at Wasim Akram's 11 and Waqar Yunus's 11, and they were both fascinating to look at, but also they're living in a fantasy land. There's no way Babar Azam's going to come in at number 3 and Fakhar Zaman's going to go up top. I don't think Fakhar will feature. I mean, he might, you never know. Pakistan do go back to their big match players, and they really value that sort of emotional connection with a player that's performed on the big stage before. But I think what's playing today is pretty close, probably with Hasnain setting it out for Shaheen Afridi.
In terms of the way the matches have played out in this tournament, James, it's been an interesting series in the sense that, yes, it is 3-all, and yes, every match has been fascinating in its own way, but there's almost been a little bit of a sense that Pakistan have won matches through exploiting the supreme knowledge of the conditions, some standout performances, particularly at the top of the order. And England, when they've won matches, have sort of shown that England DNA, if you like, from the last 5-6 years or so in white ball cricket. Pakistan have won matches in different ways. England's wins have all been kind of, what we know England do.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing for me during this series is that the top order haven't really fired from an England point of view, haven't been as consistent as what they've been like over the years. So really been that middle order which has been incredibly effective for England, whereas the Pakistan batting lineup, it's all been about Rizwan and Babar. And then we've seen some outstanding performance from Rauf, who's come in and won a couple of games out of nowhere. In particular, that 5th match when he came in, I think England needed 5 off 10 balls with 3 wickets remaining, and he came in and bowled a superb last over. And won them the game. So it's been an interesting series to date, and today's going to be an absolute cracker.
Pakistan, particularly in those 4th and 5th matches, Atif, managed to win games that maybe they didn't have the right to do so, but ahead of a tournament, ahead of a major competition like the T20 World Cup, that is absolutely invaluable, isn't it? Learning to win games, how you're going to get over the line, and doing so in different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And batting first. This is the big challenge for Pakistan because they invest so heavily in Babar and Rizwan, as James is saying. But what I think the most heartening thing about that was just the way they sort of held their nerve at the death. I've seen that Pakistan team time and time again struggle, right at the back end of an innings. Of course, everybody remembers the game against Australia in the World Cup last year in the semi-final where they just couldn't hold their nerve at the death. Whereas, particularly the game sort of defending 5 of 10 balls with 3 wickets in hand to steal that win. I mean, it really must do something for your confidence, particularly if you're someone like Haris Rauf, who's taken the most wickets in this series. I mean, he's played 5 games, taken 8 wickets already, and I know Mark Wood is just behind him with 6, but he's only played the 2 games so far. Obviously, that's all he'll feature. He's not playing today, but yeah, I think it's almost worrying in the sense that it papers over your issue, which in Pakistan's case is the follow-up batting to Rizwan and Babar, and it's rather telling in the stats list. So if you look at the top scorers list for this series, you got Rizwan at the top and Babar behind him, but then you got a sequence of England players and no other Pakistani batter featuring for a long time until you get Shan Masood. So yeah, there's still that concern there of like, yes, you've got arguably the 2 best batters in the format, but what else you got? Because at the moment, no one else is really standing out.
Well, this is what we spoke about a couple of days ago, isn't it? Which is it's the double-edged sword of when you've got a really strong top 2 and others don't get the opportunity to score runs. Sometimes the stats can say, well, that middle order isn't firing, and then they might get an opportunity and it doesn't quite work out because they haven't had a hit in the middle. And so sometimes having that really strong top 2 can actually kind of work against you, particularly when you're building up to a tournament.
Yeah, it can do. I mean, from a domestic point of view, I remember for a few years an Essex side being a very strong T20 side when I was playing, and often our sort of top 3 or 4 used to do all the work, all the damage, and then down the lower order you don't really get much game time, don't get much time out in the middle, winning those tight games. So then all of a sudden when it is over to you, it's sometimes in a crisis, the sort of middle to lower order. So you don't really have that sort of game time out in the middle. So that is definitely a challenge, but they've got some skillful players in there. They've got some highly explosive batters like Krishdal's come back in today. He's an absolute pocket rocket left-handed batsman. Yes, all-rounder bowls his left-arm spin as well. And then Asif Ali, who's we've seen in this series so far, he's gone in, I think only faced 3 balls in 2 games ago and hit, I think might be 3 balls left in the game and he hit 2 of them for 6. So he does have something which a lot of people can't do, is go from ball 1. A lot of players need 1 or 2 balls, whereas he can go straight away.
What are we expecting in terms of how England are going to approach the start of this game? They've been asked to bat first. We know the impact of the dew in the second innings has been quite significant, as it tends to be in day-night cricket or evening cricket. What are we expecting England's approach is going to be here? I mean, they tend to play in one way.
Yes, and I think that's exactly the approach they'll take. The wicket seems to be quite good. Babar Azam remarking at the toss that it looks like a really good surface, and there's probably a lot of runs in this. He kind of smirkingly said it's always really good for the batters, which I don't know if history agrees with him necessarily, but if he's exercising that kind of confidence in the pitch or expressing that kind of confidence in the pitch, you'd expect Salt to pick up where he left off, and you'd expect Hales to... Let's not forget, that duel is still on.
Yeah.
The Hales looked like a foregone conclusion, Salt reigniting that debate, so these two have a real incentive to go out there and show exactly what they can do. This is going to be a very exciting power play.
And just before we let you go for the time being, Atif, we know this is a significant series in so many ways. Also, only the second time we've had a 7-match T20 series. You obviously, we all remember the last 7-match series, don't we?
Yeah, so Pakistan has actually never beaten England before in a T20 international series, so they'll be looking to make a bit of history of their own today. And also, curiously, every series that they've played, limited overs, that has an even number of games, has always been drawn. So how good that we have a 7-match series to settle this.
You've done it beautifully there to avoid the fact that neither of us knew that Malawi, Mozambique was the other time that there's been a 7-match T20 series.
That's the only other one?
The only other one, apparently.
Now, hopefully the series will change that.
Well, hopefully so, but those are really... every time it's been a level number of matches, they've always ended in a draw.
They've always ended in a draw between these two teams.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much, Shatif Nawaz will be back with us. James and I are going to kick things off here watching England against Pakistan. This first tour to Pakistan in 17 years. Lahore is the location, the Gaddafi Stadium, and we are about to get underway, and it is going to be Mohammad Nawaz opening the bowling with that now familiar T20 opening partnership of Phil Salt and Alex Hales, with injuries and a little bit of a experimentation for England during this series, meaning that they've had to turn to these two, and it has been almost a sort of a straight fight for that place, opening the batting alongside Joss Buttler in the T20 World Cup. At the moment, Phil Salt has just got the edge, would you say?
Oh, it's a tough. It's interesting because obviously Salt was announced in the squad initially for that World Cup, and then Alex Hales has come in after the injury to Johnny Bairstow. So they've got a few more games to go, and maybe they'll see how those games pan out in Australia.
Right then, from the college end at the Gaddafi Stadium, Pakistan in the field, having won that toss and elected to bowl first. The cry of play from Hassan Raza says that we are ready to go. And Salt and Hales at the top of the order. Salt on strike first of all, rocking back in his crease and clubbing the ball down the ground without perfect timing, but he has beaten the infield. Running round is Harris Ralph, back into the side and picking up a huge cheer from a crowd that has been sold out for weeks. Apparently this game has been the one that has been, well, as every match has, but particularly this game has been earmarked as a must visit, and it's set up perfectly. We 3-3 after 6 games. We couldn't ask for anything more.
Well, we've all been excited waiting for today after the last game, day off yesterday. Thrilled to be coming back to see how this all unfolds.
There's no protection on the boundary behind square as rocking back is Salt, cutting that ball away, finding the gap and finding England's first boundary of the innings. It's behind square on the offside, through backward point, and one supporter in a Pakistan shirt in the crowd is waving the Union Jack flag in acknowledgement of that boundary. Salt, well, we said he'd look to continue where he'd left off in the last game. He does exactly that. England's first boundary, 6 without loss.
Beautiful feet this. Wasn't that short, it probably been hit the stumps a couple of inches below the top of the stumps, and is able to give himself some room, light feet, wicket-keeper feet, crash it through into the boundary on the offside.
Salt waiting, this is onto the pads and strikes the pads. Those square on in the crowd are all up appealing for the LBW, but I'm not sure it would have had to hit a second set going down that leg side. A leg by is signalled. England move to 7 without loss, and Alex Hales will be on strike. I should say, look out on BBC Sounds, because we will have a podcast at the end of this series looking back on what's been a brilliant time of it in Pakistan, but also with a glance ahead to that T20 World Cup. Here comes Nawaz, left arm spin round the wicket, Hales deep in the crease, whipping the ball away, but a good piece of fielding that the crowd absolutely love to see. Will prevent the boundary, because that was whipping away quickly. Good diving save at mid-on. Prevents the 4 runs. 8 without loss is the score. Have 2 balls left in this first over. Nawaz, the ball in hand once again. And this is hit in the air, into the leg side. Has it cleared the infield? It has. 1 bounce 4. Salt, this time targeting that leg side. It goes towards wide, long on. And it was just a little chip.
Another beautiful shot from Salt. Very similar, this shot, to the last innings. During the last match, he scored a lot of his boundaries over mid-on, through that mid-on area. And then again, mid-on up, and took advantage of a slightly over-pitched delivery.
Nawaz into bowl to Salt, and he's deep in the crease. Leading edge in the air, but it'll drop short of the fielder running in from extra cover. Salt for a moment looked panicked as the ball leapt into the Lahore night sky, but it lands safely. The over concludes, 13 from it. Good start for England. Just trying to turn that ball into the leg side. He had no idea where it had gone.
With one of those often the case, towards the back end of an over, your fielders, your inner ring fielders go on the edge of the ring to try and protect the boundary. If you had your extra cover in on one, tight on one, then it would have been a simple catch. But that's the way it goes. It's something you don't predict as a leaning edge to mid-wicket. Certainly didn't really hold in the pitch. Just Salt playing slightly out in front of himself.
So 1 over gone. England 13 without loss. If you want to get in touch with us, tms@bbc.co.uk. You can use the hashtag BBC Cricket on social media. Let us know what you've made of this series, maybe what you think England should go with for the start of the T20 World Cup. Here comes Mohamed Hasnain back into the side today, so we're going to see Seam from the pavilion end with Salt on strike. And Hasnain sprinting in with a roar of the crowd behind him. Salt waiting, whipping that ball into the leg side. Lovely shot. What a piece of timing from Phil Salt. With a flick of the wrist, the ball races away through mid-wicket. And another boundary sees the score to 17 without loss.
Hasnain will be disappointed with this first delivery of his spell back into the side. Over-pitched, middle and leg line. And for a leg-sided dominant player that Phil Salt is, that's exactly where he'd want the ball.
Good shake of the head from Hasnain, who 22 years old. He's experienced enough 26 T20 internationals, including today. He's running in now, bowling to Salt, who's feeling for that outside the off stump. It goes flying on through to Rizwan behind the stumps. There's enthusiasm from some, but I think part of the issue that they're going to have here is it's going to be pretty hard to hear a Nick when you've got that many shouts around the ground, that much excitement with the pace on the ball, and I'm not sure Babar Azam's going to be tempted to go upstairs here. He's not.
Beautiful delivery. That's almost kicked off the surface. Banged hard into the pitch and just seemed away a little bit. Maybe a tiny bit of shape. Hasnain was going straight to the skipper then, asking for a referral. But to the naked eye, watching it live, didn't look like an edge.
Certainly no deviation looking at that replay. And Babar Azam, a little shake of the head just to say it's a good ball, but let's keep calm. Let's keep those referral opportunities in the pocket. Salt's on 15 from just 7 balls. England 17 without loss as Hasnain runs in again. This is hit into the leg side once more without perfect timing from the batter Salt, and it'll be fielded on the edge of the circle. Nice Ralph it is who picks up. We look at ultra edge now. It is a flat line. It's close to the bat, but it is a flat line. Previous delivery would have been a wasted referral. You can understand why there was the conversation though, because it was not far away from finding the edge of Phil Salt's bat. Hales is on strike then, the tall, powerfully built right hand who's only faced 1 ball so far, and he waits now. This open stance, pushing the ball into the offside, running through for a quick single. Throw comes in from Babar Azam, the captain, but Hales is safely home for his second run. He's perfectly happy just to see Phil Salt back on strike.
Yeah, good pace this. Hasnain played for the Oval Invincibles this summer in 100. Bowled some pretty quick spells, that is for sure. He's charging in, young man, a lot of ability, that is for sure.
Exciting bowler to watch, Hasnain. He's turning with 87 on his back. Rushing in past the umpire once more. Salt is leaning on a delivery, pushing into space in the offside. Will get a single. That's good batting from Phil Salt, who moves his personal tally to 17 from 9. England now 20 without loss. What do you think they'll be looking at? We heard Babar Azam ahead of the last game saying 160, 170. That didn't prove enough by a long stretch.
Yeah, I reckon minimum you're looking here 180. I mean, it's interesting that this is the pitch that Pakistan defended 145 on, but Mo also mentioned at the toss how much rain there was before that match, and therefore as a result the surface got quite sticky.
Hales waiting, full delivery, whipped away towards mid-on, but was fielded on the edge of the circle, and the score stands at 20 without loss after 2. And so you're thinking 180 bare minimum?
I reckon, yeah. It's I mean, with this lineup as well, Woakes coming into the side, extending your lineup even more. Got Willie batting at 9, Rashid at 10. They'll be, as they did the other day, these two will be going at it full throttle. Then if they can get to that good power play total to begin with, especially in these first 3 or 4 overs, if they get that momentum, then you've got the form of the middle order batters, the likes of Duckett, Brook and Mo. Definitely a score of 180 is easily achievable, in my opinion.
Well, we're going to see Mohamed Wasim come into the attack. With England having got off to a good start here in this series decider. roar around the ground. That's Wazim. Slightly longer hair, running in now. Right arm over, and Salt thrashes his ball away. Stop though, good stop as well from the Waz on the edge of the circle, and it covers, and Salt will just get the one run, taking that step to the leg side, looking to thrash the ball away. Couldn't quite time it.
Yep, giving himself some room. Again, a ball which is straight on top of the stumps. All of a sudden, the batter has created that room, therefore you can access the offside, free your hands. That's what players want, is the ability to free their hands, get their hands through the line of the ball to generate that power.
So Alex Hales is on 2. He's waiting for Wazim to bowl to him. He's running in now. Hales gives himself some space, swings hard at that, goes through to Rizwan behind the stumps. Hales, in that characteristic way, just then takes a step to the leg side, collects his thoughts. He never looks overly troubled out in the middle. He's quite a relaxed character and just resets. But he'll be desperate for a score here, because in the 6 innings that he's played, including today, that top score of 53, but the average of 22 is a little less than he'd like. Here comes Wasim, bowling to Hales, smacks that ball past the bowler. He's got a bit of it, not all of it, possibly enough for 4. Oh, what a good piece of fielding that is. And listen to the noise around the ground to acknowledge a bit of work that has saved 2 runs. There's applause from the bowler as well. It's a sensational piece of fielding, diving over the ropes as Hales hit that down the ground. He didn't get every part of it. Nearly took out the bowler. 2 fielders in pursuit. I'm trying to see who that was that got down there in front of the boundary. It was a really good stop. And I think it's Harris Ralph that's got round and has just about saved that from being 4 runs. Brilliant work. Sort of fielding that even 15 years ago you would never have seen.
Especially off the fast and nasties.
Here comes Wazim, bowling to Hales. A slightly more delicate shot, that's brilliantly played. Finds the boundary this time, behind square, through deep third where there's no protection, just using the pace on the ball, helping it on its way. Just a guide, really, as much as anything.
Smart batting from Alex Hales, this. Wazim just probably 6 stump line. With 3rd man up, Alex Hales just using the pace. Yes, had a bit of protection out there, I saw backward point, but too fine, too quick. This outfield is rapid at Lahore.
England 27 without loss. Wazim running in, 7 from the over already. Hales has moved on to 8. He's going to get more runs here, into the leg side, flicked away through mid-wicket and a 1-bounce 4. Nice timing from Hales. Just giving himself a little bit of room, really, to make that into a leg stump half volley. And sent it spearing away into the onside.
A feature of Alex Hales batting this is that he uses the width of his crease. Goes across his stumps. He also gives himself some room. We've already seen him give room earlier in this over, and now he's gone across his stumps. A middle stump line ball has now created the ability, by changing the angle, to clip it over square leg for 4.
31 without loss, final ball of the 3rd over. Here comes Wazim to bowl to Alex Hales, who drives through the offside this time, finds the gap, finds more runs, 4 of them, drilled through the covers, and consecutive boundaries, 3 consecutive boundaries, sees England to 35 without loss, having been asked to bat first. We've had 3 overs.
So difficult to bowl at, it really is. I mean, these two would have had, Wazim would have would have bowled a lot to Alex Hales in the PSL in the nets because they're teammates, but it's just very difficult to bowl at someone who uses the crease like that. You're rocking up to bowl as you're charging in, and you're not sure if he's going to give room or he's going to go across the stumps.
Good afternoon to Judith, who emails from Lancaster. Hello all, delighted to have you for company this afternoon, says Judith, as I'm in bed in hospital having broken my back. Just hope England can pull it out of the bag and turn my not so good day, I mean that is one of the true understatements, I would say, Judith, into a rather splendid one. Keep up the great work. Cheers, Judith in Lancaster. Judith, look after yourself. I hope you're doing okay, and fingers crossed we can bring you news of England's success. If you want to join the conversation, tms@bbc.co.uk is the way to do so. Haris Rauf is back into the attack then. This absolute superstar of the Pakistan side rested in the last game, unsurprisingly back for this one. He's Pakistan's leading wicket taker in the series, despite having been left out of the last game. He's got 8 wickets, 3 more than anyone else on the Pakistan side. And he's bowling to Phil Salt. Rushing in now. Salt works that ball into the leg side. Fielder at deep backward square will collect on the bounce. It was rather awkward for Kushdil Shah out there on the boundary, but he did well. 36 without loss.
That was quick. he's had a couple of days off. Haris Rauf had played for Yorkshire this season in the Blast. I think he was very explosive there. Had a really good campaign. The Yorkshire boys spoke very fondly of him. He's already charging in.
Here comes Haris Rauf once more. Hales is on 16. Ooh, gets a little fortunate. Inside edge onto the pads and almost got caught between his knees. And dropped safely. One of those where you so often see the ball almost in slow motion trickling onto the stumps. It seems incongruous how a ball that's been propelled at 90 miles an hour can suddenly find itself nudging the stumps at about 0.5 of a mile an hour a moment later. But no harm done.
Looked like the first change of pace that we've seen so far. 3.2 overs gone. Someone with this sort of pace who can also bowl good slower balls makes them very dangerous.
In comes Haris Rauf then, running into bowl to Hales, and that's a good piece of bowling because Hales gave himself some room, stepped into the leg side, and Rauf followed him, prevented any width at all. And by the time Hales realised where that ball was coming, there was no way he could readjust. Rolling the fingers over it again.
Yep, smart play. Smart bowler again. 2 slow balls in a row now. A nice little take there from Rizwan actually. Pace off. Ball's not carried through. Awkward little length for the keeper. Hard job being a keeper, isn't it?
Yeah. Here comes Rauf, bowling to Hales. Pushes the ball into the onside. And a single is taken. What a good start this has been from Rauf. Just 2 runs from the first 4 balls. I mean, arguably, keepers aren't just the best players on the field. They're actually the best people, I've heard.
Well, and you generally find they're pretty much underpaid as well,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
I can see Stefan Schemmel, who's also a wicketkeeper, nodding at the far side of the room. Yeah, they tend to be the best dancers, funniest, all those things.
Yeah.
37 without loss. Phil Salt's on 19 from 11. He waits now for Rauf. Helps that into the leg side. Square again, and once more work to do for Kushdil Shah, and collects cleanly. 38 without loss. Just 3 from this over so far. England going at almost 10s. But immediately you see the quality of Haris Rauf and just what he can do in terms of variations and raw speed as well.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating last delivery, this. 3 balls he's bowled at Hales so far, all of them being pace off. Will he go again? Will he gamble with on pace?
38 without loss the score. Hales waiting on 17. Working the ball behind square on the leg side. More work for Kushdil to do in the deep. He does well again, collecting on the bounce. And to make a little bit of ground to his right. And just a single to conclude an excellent over from Rauf, who takes his cap from the umpire. England 39 without loss after 4. Salt's on 20. Hales is on 18. England asked to bat first by Pakistan. The series level at 3 matches all. We missed it earlier. Just the second time in history that we've had a 7-match T20 series. And frankly, I'd take some more. I'd be very happy if there was. It's a bit like baseball.
Well, I think it's great because you obviously get the mini battles within the series, and again with 2 high quality outfits like this, where they play exciting brand of cricket. It's just great to watch, great viewing, and it's almost now we've got to like the mini final, haven't we?
Here's Hasnain bowling to Hale, struck on the pad, big appeal given, looked good. the sort of ball that when it strikes the pads, you're just waiting for the moment the finger will go up. There's almost nothing that I can see from that will see Alex Hales to review it. Surely, skiddy, awkward, cannoning into the pads. And the DRS timer counts down. Hales on 18 has been given out LBW and trudges off the field knowing that ball is just doing too much right. He's absolutely crunching into the stumps.
You saw Hales there as it's whacked him on the pad, front pad. And that knee roll. Grimacing. Don't know if that's through, if it's missed his, if it's gone through the padding or he just felt that he was absolute stone dead. But a good little contribution there from Hales. But his last 8 balls, Pakistan have just wrestled back just a little bit of the initiative.
Well, they have, because England flew out of the blocks, but this has been a good comeback thanks to a bit of the pressure built by Haris Rauf and then a really good delivery from Mohamed Hasnain. So David Malan comes to the middle. Somebody that spent much of his international T20 career as the #1 ranked batter in the world. He's had one good contribution in this series, and that's the 36. But averaging just 19.2 strike rate. Well, strike rate has never been his game really in T20 cricket, and it's always been the one element of things where he's received a little bit of criticism. He's been going at 114th, but he has so often provided such valuable innings for England across T20 international career that is now just 2 games short of 50 appearances. Malan, the left-hander, waits under the floodlights of the Gaddafi Stadium. Absolutely packed full. Lots of banners in the crowd, plenty of green shirts of Pakistan. And here comes Hasnain running into bowl to Malan. First ball for him, there's a slip in place. He jams that out towards cover point. Throw comes in at the non-striker's end, but Salt had headed back to his ground, and there is no run.
Good length that. You certainly want to be challenging Malan early on. Balls hitting the stumps, not over pitching, that is for sure, but towards the top of the stumps. Sometimes his footwork can be a little bit slow to get going, but which is expected when you're first going in, when you're facing your first few balls in your innings, trying to get used to the bowler, used to the light, or the lights in this instance, and also the pace on the back of a wicket. Hasnain's bowling good pace. So a lovely start.
39 for 1. We've got 4 balls left of this 5th over. Strikes the pads of Malan. Oh, mix up. Salt's in trouble. Throw comes in at the non-striker's end. Hits. And Phil Salt's run out. I think it was a direct hit. It was an awkward throw. It was loopy. It was far from being the most direct route, but the ball ballooned onto the stumps, and Salt, having almost met David Malan, has to depart, with England losing both openers in the space of 3 balls. 39 for 2, and there was never a run there.
Well, Phil Salt's just basically run 2 here. It's crashed into Malan's leg. I think it really hurt him. And Salt's gone all the way down. I don't think Darby could really run because of the blow to the leg. And like you said there, I mean, the throw is a little loopy throw from Shadab Khan there, who's ended up hitting a direct hit. It's not what England needed.
Well, Phil Salt's having a massive sense of humour failure. And as he realised that he was gone, he turned round, had a look at Alex Hales and put his hand at David Malan and put his hands out, as if to say, well, come on. I had time to get all the way to you and almost back again. But I wonder if you're right. I wonder if the blow to the pads of Malan just meant that he was in no position to set off for the run.
Yeah, I mean, with the noise out there, maybe Darby couldn't hear Phil Salt charging at him. And bearing in mind the ball's gone behind David, and we're all grown up. When we're playing the game as a young kid, you're always told it's the non-striker's call. But David decided just to stay in his crease. Poor Phil Salt's run basically 2 there. And England losing 2 wickets in the space of 4 or 5 deliveries.
So Ben Duckett joins the action. 2 left-handers now at the crease. Duckett having had a really good series. He's not in the T20 World Cup squad, but he's done pretty much all he could have done. Milan waits down the leg side. It's taken by the keeper. The crowd are up. Wide is signalled. Duckett across 6 innings up to now has scored 203 runs. England's leading run scorer, averaging over 50. Strike rate of now 160. And he's basically swept his way to the entirety of those runs.
Yeah, and I think his strike rate against the spin's almost close to 170, I think. We mentioned the other day that Ben Duckett's super strength, he's got many strengths, but his super strength is his ability to play spin, sweep and reverse sweep.
Milan driving, wide delivery is punished. Full wide outside the off stump, and Milan just had to get something on it, whistles through the covers. And that just eases a little bit of the pressure that wasn't necessarily building on England in terms of the match situation, but the atmosphere, the crowd, the intensity, the momentum. That's a welcome boundary for England.
Yeah, poor ball, to be fair. With England losing 2 quick wickets, you want to keep challenging David Milan here, but it's gone wide, just got his line totally wrong, and Milan feasting on width and his ability to time the ball like he does through the offside. Beautiful shot.
44 for 2. 2 balls left of the 5th over. Helped round the corner from Milan. He's going to get more runs here. He's going to get 4 more. Another delivery that is far from perfect in terms of its line and length. And Milan actually didn't get that much of it, but he didn't need to, really. Just a little flick. Possibly off the glove, actually, looking at the replay. Made a sort of clothy kind of sound. It had enough on it to go down to the boundary at fine leg. To see England move on to 48 for 2. Good afternoon to Lynn, who says hello to you. I've watched every match today. I'm in sunny Spain listening to the commentary, hoping England can win the series. That sounds incredibly nice, Lynn. Here comes Hasnain to conclude the over. It's defended by Milan. It's good delivery to finish things off. 5 overs gone then. 48 for 2 is the score. With Duckett yet to face the ball, Milan's got 8, 2 wickets in the over. So just give Pakistan a little bit of momentum. Some more from James Foster on what we've made of this start. And then it'll be Stefan Chement.
Eventful over that. Hasnain getting 2 big wickets for Pakistan, going for 16 runs. Sorry, I think 2 boundaries there has gone for. It's gone for 8 runs there. 2 overs for 16 so far. England 48 for 2, 1 over left in the power play. Wonder who's going to be bowling this important over to finish off the power play. And it's that man. Ralph is the man.
Yeah, Haris Rauf only conceded 4 runs from his first over, bowling at high pace. And he's got Ben Duckett in his sights. Duckett yet to face a delivery at the crease following that awful run out of Phil Salt. This one's pushed into the onside. Bit of a yes-no again, actually. Milan had set off at the non-striker's end before Duckett sent him back. Dot ball. On that run out, James, and you touched on it, at every level of the game, anyone who's played has been told if the ball goes behind the striker, it's the non-striker's call. But I've actually, in other times, been told at this level of the game, it's not always that simple. Because, as you can see there, when the fielder behind the striker is quite close, getting to the non-striker's end can be just as tricky.
Yeah, for me, it's still vitally important. You've got to trust that call. If David ran straight away, he would have made that comfortably. So
Duckett's pulled Harris to deep mid-wicket for a couple, so England on to 50 for 2. He was... Firstly, it did look like he was hurt. Was he ball watching slightly?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is that the polite way of putting it?
Yeah, he was. I think obviously the fact it's sort of strapped him. It's one of those where it sometimes hits you on the pad where it sort of misses a lot of the pad and it gets you on the side of the knee.
Harris is steaming in, 97 on his back. He's jammed down on by Duckett into the onside. England scamper a single. So 51 for 2, having been asked to bat by Pakistan. Midway through the 6th over, the final over of the power play. Series decider. But But you can understand why Salt was angry. He would expect Milan to respond to that call, wouldn't he? And you're right, that he did almost run too.
Yeah, it's Phil Salt's at no fault there whatsoever. There's definitely a run there. You've got to go. You've got to respond to your partner, and it's a basic thing which, as you touched on, it's the sort of thing which you learn as a very young boy or girl growing up playing the game.
But what's happened here? Haris Rauf is down on his knees. Babar Azam's in there. He's getting slapped on the back by some. I think he might have swallowed a mosquito. I think
swallowed one of those moths.
One of the substitute fielders has had to run out and bring him a drink. Let's see if we can spot that. We're just seeing the replay of Haris pinning of Alex Hales rather being pinned. LBW. That was the first England wicket to go. That was Mohammed Hasnain who snared Hales for 18. Then the run out of Phil Salt. But something was brought to my attention the other day, James, during the 6th game. I'm going to ask you about this because of your experience of coaching in the Pakistan Super League. And it's something Alex Stewart said about playing in Lahore from more than 20 years ago, in fact. Haris is okay. He's up and charging into Dawid Malan, who, as he does, just waits for the ball and angles the ball to third. It's a very Dawid Malan stroke, that. England take a single to 52 for 2. And Alex Stewart was asked about the challenges of playing in Lahore, and specifically the insects were mentioned. He said, "They were undoubtedly the most uncomfortable in which I have played, the conditions. The dew still had an effect, if not as significant as in Karachi, but the flying insects more than made up for that. It seemed that the lights attracted the entire insect population of Pakistan to the ground, and once they were there, they were unbearable for the players on the field." Haris Rauf to Duckett's turned behind square on the leg side. Short fine leg fielder makes a complete hash of it, parries it round the post like a goalkeeper would, except that's no good in cricket and it's gone for 4. England 56 for 2, 1 delivery of the power play remaining. And just to conclude on this Alex Stewart quote, "That is why we had to wear sunglasses for the partial protection they offered. Even Freddie Flintoff said he was not hungry at the end of the game because he had swallowed so many mosquitoes."
Well, I can't comment because when I was in Lahore, we had no issues whatsoever. So I don't know if it was more during the day.
It's just taken Haris Rauf down.
Well, he's taken him down, that's fair. Fair point.
You can see them buzzing around Ben Duckett now as he points his back to the sky, and Harris bowls just chipped into the onside, past the square leg umpire. There is a sweeper out on the boundary. So single to complete the over. England are 57 for 2 after 6. Malan has 9 and Duckett has 8. So in your experience, James, as a coach in the Pakistan Super League, you have not yet been attacked by the moths or whichever insects descend.
No, I'm obviously not tasty enough, no. So I've been safe to date. But I've just seen a little highlights package here of the England's power play. Really the difference there was Hasnain's over, getting 2 wickets in the over, 1 LBW to Hales, and the silly run out. No fault of his own. Phil Salt, I felt, got barbecued a little bit there, I'd say. What do you reckon there, Steph?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. End of the power play. James Foster is off, so that means Atif Nawaz can come on and bowl in the middle overs with a bit of extra protection outside the 30-yard circle.
What's the issue with insects? It's only protein, isn't it?
Isn't it in the future that's what we'll all be eating?
Yeah, exactly. Good prep, I say.
Shadab Khan's on to bowl his leg breaks to a pair of left-handers, and Duckett forces the first ball back to the bowler, and Shadab Khan is follow-through, does the field, and then gives Dawid Malan, the non-striker, a little bit of a cuddle.
He's a cuddly guy. He likes a good hug, Rizwan.
Shadab number 7 creeps in. Duckett reverse sweeping with those rubber wrists to point for 4. He almost double jointed Ben Duckett, the way he can work the ball, all the angles. He's got all the sweeps in his locker. This time's getting so low, and there's no fielder out there. England on to 61 for 2.
Yeah, it's so hard to prepare for because you know it's coming. you know that he's going to sweep you, and yet he does it so often with so much effectiveness and so much accuracy. Even as a bowler, you feel sort of powerless. You have to sort of just accept. I mean, I know Shadab was sort of exhaling there, or inhaling even, thinking I was in the game, but was he in the game there?
It's Owen Morgan-esque almost. You think of the young Owen Morgan when he first came into the England team. Duckett gives himself room this time and plays more conventionally with a straight bat through the offside. There's a deep cover. Just a single, 62 for 2. Remember when Owen Morgan first came into the England team and he was playing shots that we'd never really seen before. Sweeps, reverse sweeps, paddles, scoops.
It felt like he had an extra joint in his forearm because he was just so sort of, his arms were sort of flail when he played those shots. He looked like he had a different level of flexibility, and it was just so striking when he got going, just to watch him play.
Did you ever have a Stretch Armstrong toy when you were a kid? You could bend it into all sorts of positions.
Yeah.
A bit like that.
Do you think that's the secret to Ben Duckett's success? Growing up with a Armstrong. What was it? Ben Armstrong?
Stretch Armstrong.
Stretch Armstrong. Ben Duckett, Stretch Armstrong.
Milan's on strike to Shadab Khan. It's just turned calmly through the onside. Between two fielders in the ring for a single. 63 for 2 England. 2 deliveries, a 7th to go. I saw some quotes from Ben Duckett a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
And he took a little bit of flack actually in his first incarnation as an England player, as a test player, when he struggled in a tour of Bangladesh and India. I think he was found out a little bit by R. Ashwin. He's on strike this time to Shadab. It's driven past, or almost past mid-off. There's an excellent diving stop actually by Asif Ali just on the edge of the ring. I think he saved 3 there. It would have gone for 4 had he not pulled off the dive. 64 for 2. Now, many fine players have been undone by R. Ashwin. And Duckett said, look, I couldn't believe it when people said I couldn't play spin.
Yeah. I read that piece. I mean, it's quite remarkable when you consider he's going at 159 strike rate against spin in this series alone, and has been so effective, particularly in this middle phase of the innings where the spinners come in.
Milan on strike once again, just tickles the ball off his pad through the square region on the leg side for a single. He's on 11 from 8. Duckett 14 from 9. England are 65 for 2 after 7. Deciding match of this 7-game T20 series. Fitting finale for what we've seen, for all the fluctuations and undulations. And after this, England are off to Australia for the World Cup to prepare for the T20 World Cup. The next cricket you'll hear on Test Match Special next Sunday morning, the first in a 3-match T20 series between England and the Aussies. If you can't wait till then, head over to the BBC Sport website where you'll find a selector. Choose your England T20 side for the World Cup. See if you can do a better job than what me and Atif and James Foster made of it during the 6th T20 International, where we tied ourselves in knots trying to figure out what England's best 11 is.
How'd you fit Moeen Ali and Ben Stokes in? This was the challenge that we encountered, wasn't it?
Well, someone else I'd forgotten about who's heading over to Australia as part of that squad. Iftikhar's in to bowl his off breaks, and he's immediately lofted over the offside. 1 bounce for 4 by Milan. Welcome to the game. England 69 for 2.
Sorry, I was going to absolute class shot to hit inside out. First ball of this bowler as well. Impose yourself on the off spinner is taking the ball away from you, and that's the matchup that Barber is counting on here. And he's just class batting from Milan.
Lots of teams tried to bowl spin early on to Milan in the 100. Iftikhar bowls. It's punched to point. Now England have thought about a single. Duckett got sent back, and now they'll get an overthrow. The throw went to the non-striker's end. Iftikhar couldn't gather. Now I think there might have been another overthrow, or a chance of another overthrow. There's someone backing up this time. Shadab Khan, who's got his hands in the air. A little bit like a circus out there in Lahore at the moment. One throw at the stumps missed, then another one missed. At the end of it all, England have taken a single. 68 for 2.
Yeah, fielder backing up was just a bit deep, and like Iftikhar got a hand on the ball when it came into him, so he just sort of dribbled out to that fielder, and there's great awareness from these 2 England batters to go through for the single. Correction
to that score, 70 for 2. Iftikhar twirls in. Duckett gives himself some room and slashes out towards deep cover for a single. 71 for 2 England. Chris Jordan,
yes, of course,
is another man who's going to come into this England squad, and you'd think into the 11 as well.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think, yeah. Established in this T20 side, isn't he?
Absolutely, but given the options they have now.
shorter and flatter from Iftikhar. Played square by Milan for one more, 72 for 2.
If you're getting 4 overs out of Sam Curran, 4 out of Mark Wood.
But I don't know if Sam Curran's going to play, is he?
You'd play Jordan ahead of Curran.
Maybe.
No, I'm just asking the question, yeah.
Wide of the off stump from Iftikhar. Duckett gives himself some room, slashes past long off for 4. What a bit of placement that is. He'd step back outside the leg stump, Duckett. It was wide from Iftikhar, and Duckett reached to place the ball past the boundary fielder.
Yeah, outstanding. It wasn't even a sweep shot either, but he just executed it so well. It was all about the placement. He didn't try and look pretty doing it. He just knew exactly the gap he wanted to hit. 76 for 2. Duckett giving himself room again. It's another drive through the offside. This time a man comes off the point boundary to do the field in, Mohamed Nawaz. England on to 77 for 2 after 8. Duckett 20 off 12. Milan 17 off 11. Iftikhar's gone for 12 in that over. And from these conversations, Atif, again, what we are highlighting is it is not easy to cut England's T20 side down to just 11 players. So if you want to have a go for yourself, head on over to the BBC Sport website. The selector, I like it. And meanwhile, this England side is doing pretty well as well. And they lost their 2 big hitters early doors, but they managed to keep a very strong run rate, just under 10 and over still after 8 overs. They've not allowed the support bowlers to settle. Shadab went for 8 in his first over. Iftikhar's gone for 12 in his first over. So no bowler has been allowed to settle yet by these England batters. They'll still be eyeing up that 190, maybe even 200-esque total, which would be a tough chase in a 7-match series decider. Yeah, I wouldn't want to chase 200 there. So game on very much from these England batters. Milan seems to have recovered after, let's be honest, selling salt down the river.
Shadab Khan's round the wicket ball, his leg breaks to Duckett. It's almost swept onto his own stumps. It's gone so fine. I think it might have even gone through the keeper's legs for 4. Haris Rauf gives chase and clatters into the advertising boards. It almost looked like one of those that Duckett could have dragged onto his stumps, almost playing the sweep too fine. Instead, he's got 4, and England are on to 81 for 2. It did go through Rizwan's legs.
Yeah, you don't see that very often. Shadab just sort of grimacing. He thought that was sort of a chance, but I mean, you'd have to be. No, that's not a chance.
Do you know the only way you see them sometimes caught is if they lodge between the keeper's legs?
Yeah.
It's around the wicket again, Shadab. It's another drive by Duckett, but straight to the mid-off fielder. Just to linger on the point that you made, Atif, of none of the Pakistan bowlers having any respite. Well, they used 6 different bowlers in the first 8 overs. Shadab with the luminous green boots. It's another sweep from Duckett. Just square of the man at short fine leg. England won a single, 83 for 2. And Pakistan would have felt they were well in the game because England lost their 2 wickets, both with the score on 39. Hales for 18, Salt for 20. So from 39 without loss to 39 for 2. But now this partnership is worth 44 in less than 4 overs. Thanks, Jack. Where you join us, where Dawid Malan has just planted a 6 over Cow Corner. And England onto 89 for 2 midway through the 9th over. Pakistan having won the toss and asked England to bat first. England lost Alex Hales for 18 and Phil Salt for 20. But since then, Malan and Ben Duckett have shared a partnership of exactly 50 in exactly 4 overs. Malan on 23 from 12 deliveries, Duckett on 21 from 14. Remember, this is the series decider, the 7th and final game. The score locked at 3-all. England with a new challenge in Lahore of having to bat first. They know they've got to make the running because they'll have to battle against the wet ground, the dew fall later on. And even though they lost those 2 wickets to be 39 for 2, they're making good progress at the moment as Shadab Khan, the leg spinner, bowls to Malan, who pushes the ball up towards long on for a single. And England go on to 90 for 2. I'm Stefan Schemmelt, I'm alongside Atif Nawaz.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's a big match, isn't it? Final game of 7-match series, and England just holding their shape here. We thought those 2 early wickets might slow them down a bit, might just change them up a bit tactically, but after taking a breath, they're still very much dominating.
Duckett down the ground to Shadab Khan. It's hit straight for 6, just over the boundary sponge. Second maximum of the over from an England point of view. Duckett balletically using his feet to get to the pitch. Takes England on to 96 for 2, the 64th 6 of the series.
Yeah, it's a remarkable shot. Good to see some support out there for England as well. I've had a few messages from people who've travelled from England to Pakistan for this series. A chap called Ibi went all the way from Surrey to Lahore to watch this game today.
Now Duckett's reverse sweeping, almost from outside leg stump. He's got it behind square on the offside just for a single. It almost feels like a shot of such dexterity should get more than 1 run. But England are 97 for 2 after 9 overs. Duckett 28 from 16, Milan 24 from 13. Duckett continuing his fine series. He's not even going to the T20 World Cup.
I was just thinking it's remarkable that he's not going, and again, demonstrative of the kind of depth that England have at the moment, where they can leave out a player of his class. Of course, these conditions you'd think would really suit his batting style, and it's something for England to bear in mind the next time they're over in Pakistan, and maybe even can have a look at him for the long form when they go back to Pakistan for the 3-test series a little bit later this winter. But in the short term, they've done absolutely brilliantly here, England. Remember, they're batting first in conditions that are heavily going to favour the team batting second. What they want to do is, get as imposing a total as possible. They've seen Pakistan chase down 200 before, but where Pakistan struggled was chasing that 221, because all of a sudden you need to go more. You need to go 11s rather than going at 10s. So they know that no real total is like overly threatening, so they just have to get as many as they possibly can, and this intent shows you that's exactly what they're trying to do.
Duckett on strike once more to Iftikhar, the off spinner, as he's lofted into the offside. A couple of fielders run back from the edge of the 30-yard circle, but it bounces safely, and England run a single, so they move on to 98 for 2. Remember, this is their final game before they head to Australia for their final preparations for the T20 World Cup. 3 matches against Australia, then a couple of warm-up games as well. The first of those matches against Australia is next Sunday morning on 5 Sports Extra.
What time in the morning will that be then?
Yeah, I was just looking that up. Milan drives through the offside up towards long off.
Like 4ish, I imagine? 4
No, not quite that early. England 98 for 2. Game starts at 9:10 and next Sunday morning. It's in Perth.
Perfect. Just in time for that Sunday morning jog. Chuck on TMS, have a little listen.
In fact, all 3 matches start at 9:10.
Perfect. Perfect timing. But just reflecting again on what's a good total.
Iftikhar bowls to Ben Duckett. It's punched up towards long on for a single. England brings up the England 100 for 2 after only 9.5 overs. Duckett 30. He's England's leading run scorer in this series, the only one past 200 runs.
He's done it at a very good strike rate as well, 168.57. I mean, what these two have done really was keep that run rate going despite those 2 early wickets falling.
Milan gives himself some room. He toe ends the ball up towards long off, where the tall, slender figure of Sean Masood does the fielding. 1 bounce, single taken, 101 for 2.
It's just difficult to know, because they obviously, normally you'd say, well, they should aim for 200 or aim for 210.
Iftikhar whirls in. Now that might be an amazing stumping from Mohammad Rizwan. That is one of the best bits of wicket keeping you will ever see. Duckett gave himself some room. He under-edged the ball into the ground, and Rizwan, quick as a flash, grabbed it in his right hand and had the bails off, and Duckett knew immediately that he was out-stumped. He's walking off, shaking his head, but that is lightning hands from Mohammad Rizwan. England lose their 3rd wicket. That's timely for Pakistan. Duckett gone for 30, 101 for 3.
That was absolutely incredible. I don't know how he did that. The ball went into the ground. Rizwan, with his left arm, reached up for it, and almost like a basketball player completing a slam dunk, chucks the ball hard onto the top of the stumps, right onto the bails. And Duckett was well out there. That is absolutely outstanding. Another bit of the genius that a player like Mohammad Rizwan brings. And just as that partnership was maintaining the momentum, England are going to have to start again.
I think it's one that the man to my left might have been proud of. James Foster, former England wicketkeeper. But it's one of those strange ones where Duckett has almost played a shot half on the move because he's expecting to run after he's hit the ball, but he's not made the contact that he would have liked. He's inside edged the ball onto the ground, and he's given Rizwan just that glimmer of light, not even half a second to have the bails off, and Rizwan with the presence of mind to grab the ball in his right hand and send the zingers into the air. So it leaves England 101 for 3, and it brings another success story of this England tour to the middle. Harry Brook in at number 5, the Yorkshire batter. He's on 192 runs, striking at 165, average of 64. It's his 11th career T20 and a best of 81, which he made earlier on in this series.
It's been so impressive, hasn't he, Harry Brook? He's kind of made himself an automatic selection for England. Just the way that he's played, the way he can sort of dominate proceedings. Again, not a bad option for England at this phase of the innings. He can come in, have that immediate impact, come in and continue to play at the run rate that England are going. Because again, they don't know what a good total is. I mean, 200 plus. We saw in the other T20 matches happening in the world at the moment between India and South Africa, they've got 237 from their 20 overs.
Brooks' first ball, right-hander, pushed into the offside. It's a good bit of fielding actually by the man at extra cover. It's Shadab Khan, who's been everywhere actually in the ring so far this evening. He dived, he parried the ball, didn't prevent Brook from taking a single, so he's off the mark right away. And England on to 102 for 3 after 10 overs, halfway through, having lost the toss, been put in by Pakistan. Hales for 18, Salt for 20, Duckett for 30, the men to go. Malan on 26, Brook on 1, the men in the middle, and the men in the commentary box going to be Henry Moran after some thoughts from Atif Nawaz.
Thanks, Stefan. Yeah, I think England at the halfway point will still be pretty pleased with that, despite having lost those 3 wickets of the 3 batters, each as they were set to do greater damage. They've still got plenty of batting to come, and the style of cricket they play, the situation is perfectly set up for them. And the reason I brought up that game between India and South Africa, and Henry, you might enjoy this. I don't know, you might enjoy it, you might find it terrifying, is that we've been talking about moths a lot in Lahore, a lot of insects and stuff. But you know what stopped play in that game between India and South Africa in Guwahati in India?
Go on.
A snake.
No!
There was a snake on the outfield. They had to stop play for a snake.
Never. Steph and I have been to Guwahati.
Did you see any snakes?
Didn't see any snakes. But really, what sort of... I mean, it's a place where I have come quite close to a seriously dangerous situation, which I'll inform you about in a moment. But what sort of a snake do we know?
I just saw a photo of it and some captions. They didn't specify the breed of... Are they called the breeds of snakes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't specify, but it looked suitably terrifying. To be honest with you, Henry, it doesn't really matter what the kind of snake is. If there's a snake out on the outfield, I'm not on there.
You're not having it. Yet Steph and I, when we were in Guwahati, there was a storm, a sudden storm overnight, and to the extent that it blew in the hotel window in my room. And I was understandably a bit alarmed by this, and Stefan was next door to me, and I knocked on his door. I was like, Steph, what's happening? And he got up, I heard him getting out of bed, and just heard the words, for goodness sake, what are you complaining about? And I was like, Steph, come into my room. And the window was blown in, lying on the floor. It was extraordinary. It was just a sudden sort of rush of storm from somewhere.
So to echo Stefan's sentiments, what are you complaining about?
Oh, honestly, I did not need this. Snake on the outfield.
Yeah,
blimey.
There's a new one for you, but in the meantime, I think the players at Lahore have just had drinks, and I've heard about insects and stuff. I've spent a lot of time in Lahore, obviously, sort of growing up there. Both my parents were born there, and never really encountered that playing a lot of cricket. But though in fairness, I never played any cricket under lights in the early 90s out in Lahore. But yeah, it looks pretty good. I think whatever's happening, they've settled. You don't see too many players with the old sunglasses nowadays. So how impressive did you find that stumping?
I loved it.
Did you see a bit of basketball about it?
There was. It was a really good description. It was that sort of slam dunk, as you say. It was just sort of patted smack onto the stumps. It was sensational work, wasn't it? Right then, we're almost ready to go once again. The wickets that have fallen. Well, Alex Hales was given out LBW to Mohammad Hasnain for 18. Then a run out 2 balls later. Mix up between Milan and Salt. Salt almost got as far as the striker's end. Turned around, actually quite nearly got home. But a loopy throw from Shadab Khan was enough to see him dismissed. And then that dismissal of Ben Duckett, which has been given as a run-out, surprisingly, rather than a stumping on the scorecard.
Yeah, I'd feel a bit aggrieved about that if I was the keeper.
And indeed the bowler.
Yeah, that's...
Duckett gone for 30 though. Here comes Shadab bowling to Brook, who's forward, and a roar of frustration from behind the stumps. Rizwan thought that the ball was going to squirm through, but it drops into the onside. And a single is taken. Milan on strike, 26 from 15. So we see a replay of this stumping. Duckett looking to give himself room, chops the ball into the ground, and then it is, as it bounces up, slam dunked into the stumps by Rizwan.
Yeah, it's just outstanding. I mean, as a batter, what can you do? It takes something special to get Ben Duckett out at the moment with the kind of form he's been in. It's been so impressive on this tour. I think obviously he's not going to Australia, but I feel like he's made a very strong impression on that England selection panel.
I think he really has. Shadab is in. Well, he's not quite in. He thinks about bowling, decides not to. Whether there was any little just checking that he hadn't left his ground at the non-strikers end. The run-outs at the non-strikers end have been hot conversations in the last 7 days or so. Shadab bowls, pushed into the offside by Milan, and there is no run. Iftikhar crouches and fields. And I think, was it the Asia Cup that we saw? There was an attempted run out at the non-strikers end by a 15-year-old.
Yeah, 15-year-old player for the United Arab Emirates.
This is looping into the leg side, down towards short fine leg. I think probably just off the hips rather than the bat of Milan. And the score moves to 105 for 3. 2 balls into the 11th over.
Yeah, so the batter in that instance, the Sri Lankan batter, did manage to get her bat back in time, so she wasn't out, but the attempt was made.
Shadab bowling. Brook thrashes that ball towards backward point, but a good diving stop will prevent the opportunity of runs, as Shah Massoud it is, who makes that ground quickly to his right. I love watching Shadab bowl because everything is done with a smile on the face. There are certain cricketers that have that vibe. Brook lofts the ball into the offside. Cries of catch, but it won't be taken. It's 6. Not far from Kashtal Shah, but lofted away, as we've seen a number of times in this series from Harry Brook. That inside-out 6, it's such a hard shot to play, but he plays it brilliantly.
He does, and he executes it perfectly there as well. I think you get used to seeing those kinds of shots now at the Gaddafi Stadium. It's a much longer boundary. Usually, they've brought them in a little bit to adjust for the dimensions of this particular ground, so that you understand why the bowler thought he was in with a chance. But
Brook driving along the ground into the offside, beats the dive of cover. Require work from the man in the deep, who will pick up. It's Wazim out there. So you see another look at that 6. He just dances down a couple of paces down the track, lofted in the air, and makes it look all very easy. Brook is in the World T20 squad. Duckett not so, but he couldn't have done much more for his reputation, Ben Duckett, in this series. Milan waiting, deep in the crease, clipping into the leg side, and the bowler himself will run round to pick up. As we see 1 run taken. The current run rate stands at 10.3 or thereabouts. And after 11 overs, 113 for 3 feels like a good platform. I've got a feeling in my waters it's a Moeen Ali, loads of 6s kind of day.
It could be, and it's certainly what might be required for England as well, just to get up to that imposing total. We talked about the only guide we've got is when England got 221. Pakistan found it really tough going to chase that down, particularly after Rizwan and Barber were dismissed. They did chase 200 with relative ease, though, and that will be at the back of their minds, especially with the ball expected to pick up a lot more dew in Lahore than it would in Karachi. I was just thinking about Ben Duckett there for a second. I think obviously he's made a great impression. He's not going to Australia, but if you were a manufacturer or marketer of cleaning products, surely Ben Duckett's your man. Your next ambassador.
I think it probably would be.
Sweeping tools.
Yeah. If they go around the wicket. Quick, flat delivery.
Because there's like this... Sorry, there's this emphasis on, like, obviously, with the energy prices and things like that, you want to use your vacuum a lot less. So get back on the old dustpan and brush.
I think he'd be he'd be perfect because you could also rhyme it with Ben Duckett. When you need a mop and a bucket, follow the lead of Ben Duckett.
Outstanding.
There you go.
We need, I don't know where his agents are at, but
producer Charlotte was a bit nervous for a moment then. 114 for 3 is the score. Brooks on strike on 9. Smacks the ball into the offside. Will pick up a single as it's well fielded in the deep by Harris Ralph. England moved to 115 for 3.
I knew you were going to bucket.
Yeah,
of course you were.
I think Ben Duckett has, for a moment, and this pains me, for a moment to be serious, I think he is somebody that particularly we've seen in the subcontinent on turning pitches is, if you look a little further ahead, there's a 50-over World Cup in India next year. I think he's done an awful lot of good for his cause for that, certainly. A little bit quicker once more. Milan pushing off the back foot out towards deep cover will pick up a single. And the score moves to 116 for 3.
And, just a little bit sooner than that, of course, there's a few leagues around the world that might be looking for a signature. Pakistan Super League for sure. I mean, I think a lot of the players that are there for England right now have made that kind of impression. And I've sort of heard that there's a few meetings taking place and things like that while the players are out there. So, yeah, I think there's a lot of positive fallout that could be happening, depending on your perspective on where you want your players playing. Of course, there's if you're a big fan of Harry Brook playing for England, you sort of worry slightly about how much time he's going to play franchise cricket, considering he plays all 3 formats for England.
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. And it's the decision players themselves are going to have to start making more and more, aren't they? Iftikhar is running into bowl over the wicket. Brook advancing and clipping that ball up towards wide long on. A little bit of a fumble from Shah Massoud, but no harm is done. Single taken, 117 for 3 is the score. And Milan on 29 will, if not feel like he owes England some runs, will be wary of the next time he sees Phil Salt after that mix-up, possibly. And you'd think that if he can get a score of 50 or above, that will perhaps negate the disappointment of that mix-up and that run-out.
It gives Phil Salt some time to calm down as well, so spend some time out in the middle.
Iftikhar around the wicket, bowling to Milan, hits the ball in the air, dropped. It's been put down by the captain at extra cover, who immediately looks at the palm of his hand and says, "Why have you let me down there? That should have stuck." 118 for 3.
Wow, that is a shocking drop. It went straight to him. It was perfectly placed for it. He had to sort of leap slightly to get behind it. But I think it came onto him quicker than he thought it did. Either way, you expect that to be taken in international cricket at any level. Never mind if you're the captain of Pakistan. How big a moment is that going to be in the game?
Brook is on 11 from 7, and that beats everyone. Goes through. Brook goes through Rizwan, and as good as his keeping was earlier on, that was one of those nightmare moments for a wicket-keeper where, as the ball trickles down to the fine leg boundary, you think, I could have done much more, because the ball went through the batter, it skidded on, and there was only a fraction of a second where Rizwan could get the gloves down, couldn't do so. And 4 byes to finish the 12th over. 122 for 3. Mike Rowe gets in touch. Hashtag BBC Cricket regarding Ben Duckett's future as a salesman for cleaning products, which is not a subject I necessarily was expecting to be going down today. He says, what about toilet Duckett?
That's very good.
There you go.
That is very good. I was thinking it complements his play, doesn't it?
The sweeping.
Yeah.
He has had such a good series. And I'm really pleased for Ben Duckett as well, because he's somebody that was rather written off, as he spoke about, as Stefan mentioned earlier, that those quotes when he had that really difficult time against Ashwin in that test series in 2016 in India. He's not the first or the last England batter that's going to struggle in those conditions against high quality spin. And he was almost written off as an international cricketer, but he's continued to churn out the runs for them. That time Northampton, then Nottinghamshire in all formats. He's getting his chance with England once again. Milan waiting, working the ball in front of square, will get a run, possibly 2, setting off quickly for the first, pushing for the second, and trotting home comfortably enough for that second run. 124 for 3, we're into the 13th over.
It's just, you wonder if those couple of moments, that drop catch and that poor bit of keeping from Rizwan with the ball going through his legs, and you wonder if the momentum is just kind of going away from Pakistani. I've seen a few shoulders slumped. There's almost a sense of resignation. You don't really want that. You don't want to accept that the other team's going to score a 200 plus total. You want to at least do your best to keep it down to 180.
Striking the body of Milan this time as Wasim digs it into the surface, and he was through the shot and knew that there was pain coming. You can always hear the grimace before the ball struck him just below the rib cage.
He noticed that Harry Brook didn't back up very far on that occasion either, just knowing he was paying attention to the run out a little bit earlier. So Milan does have a tendency to sort of play a shot and take a few steps forward anyway. Yeah, a lot of batters do that, but it sort of sometimes sends like a dummy signal to the non-striker, and you think, oh, okay, there's a run here, and if you're not quick to respond, you find yourself in trouble.
Wasim sprinting in, worked into the leg side without perfect timing from Milan. He helps it on its way towards the backward square, where Sham Masood will pick up. A couple of Pakistan supporters wander at the front of that stand, one in white, one in black, as they head along in front of that packed stand. 125 for 3.
Yeah, the demand for tickets has been crazy high for this game. Apparently, some tickets exchanging hands for more than 16,000 rupees. Bear in mind, the face value is between 500 and 3,000 rupees. So 16,000 for a basic ticket shows you how hot a ticket this is in the Gaddafi Stadium. It's lots of people sort of calling in favors, lots of phone lines non-stop ringing. This is the game everybody there wants to see.
Wasim bowling, nicely played away by Brook. Run down towards deep third, and a single is taken. So what would 16,000 rupees equate to? And I say that at the moment, and give it half an hour, it might be worth a little bit less. But we're just getting a little bit of a calculation going on, working it out. Here we go, Atif.
Yeah, no, that can't be right. Sorry, I beg your pardon.
No,
give me a second.
Don't worry, no, you take your time. England against Pakistan, the final T20 of 7. We've got 2 balls left of the 13th over. Hello.
£62.81.
Okay. Into the leg side it goes. It's helped on its way down towards the boundary and for 4. Milan didn't actually get all of that, but the outfield is quick. The placement was good, and a little shake of the head for Mohamed Wasim, who looks frustrated at that. And the ball whizzing away to the boundary behind square leg for David Milan to pick up more runs.
Yeah, terrific shot that. And just for anybody who thinks £62.81 doesn't sound like a lot for a big game, the list price of the ticket would be just under £2 according to the current exchange rate. So, big inflation.
Nicely run away again from Milan. Work to do for the fielder at deep third. Oh, and it always looked as though Hasnain was going to fumble that. Sometimes when you see a ball going towards a fielder, you just back the ball to somehow get through, and it did on that occasion. The feet weren't quite in the right place, and the ball manages to get away from the bowler. So back-to-back boundaries at the end of what has become quite a profitable over for England.
Yeah, he just kind of pawed at that, didn't Naseem? He didn't really go in with a proper grip, a bit like one of those claw machines in an arcade where the claw just sort of dangles down to try and pick up the teddy bear or wherever it is you're trying to get. He just didn't recover the object there and just went flying through. And again, it's another instance of Pakistan just dropping their shoulders, being a tiny bit complacent in the field. It's something they have to improve upon. Otherwise, England can get a lot more than 200. I mean, they could get up to 220, 230 very easily today.
13 overs gone, 1-3-4 for 3. There was just a sign in the stand saying, "We love you, Ramiz Raja, chairman of the Pakistan Cricket Board, A+, but we still miss you in the commentary box." I don't think I've ever seen a sign heralding the work of the chairman at any cricket ground ever.
That's a great shame. We must try and change that next season.
I agree. Iftikhar bowling, smacked back by Brook up towards wide, long off, but there is a fielder out there to pick up, and it'll just be a single one, 3-5 for 3. Well, Ramiz Raja is a very familiar voice to listeners of Test Match, especially. He's been a part of our team for world events and England against Pakistan series over the years. I think, and I'm not overstating this, best hair in cricket.
Yeah, it's certainly up there. And you know what? If you're giving points for longevity as well, he's certainly got to be considered.
Iftikhar round the wicket to Milan. This is pushed up the ground, and a single is taken. 1-3-6 for 3. Brook on 13, Milan 42.
It's huge. Actually, a friend of mine produced a television series here in England. For a different channel. We won't mention the show or the channel, but I remember at one stage he requested the props department for a Ramiz Raja style wig.
Right.
So it exists.
Iftikhar bowling to Brook, full delivery, which is not timed really, and goes back to the bowler. If we're talking volume, it's more IMAX than it is portable TV.
Yeah.
He is absolutely it's a vast arrangement, and it's magnificent. Brook is on 13. He's going to be on more here. This is lofted down the ground, in the air, over wide, long on, and for 6, big 6 as well. Brook gets hold of that one. It was in the slot, but you still got to put it away. And he's sent that sailing over the ropes to build that increasing reputation.
And that'll be disappointing for Iftikhar, who's bowled well actually after having been expensive in his first over. He went for 12 in his first, had recovered to go for 24 from his 3.3, and that 6 will just spoil his economy rate again as he's finishing off his spell. He's actually shown great value for Pakistan, someone they're really counting on going through to Australia in the World Cup squad as well. So they want to come back strong here.
Driven into the offside. Nice timing from Brook, but straight to the hands of Babar Azam. Thank you to Oscar, who gets in touch to say, Atif Nawaz is such a brilliant addition to the TMS lineup. Please do pass it on to him. Well, there we go, Atif.
Thanks, Oscar. That's very good.
That is absolutely right. Thank you, Oscar, for getting in touch. Lovely to have you with us. Brook is on 19, waiting and lofting that ball away into the offside again. He's going to find more runs here. It's a 1 bounce 4. That lofted drive again that I will never get bored of watching. It is aesthetically as good as it gets. And England move to 146 for 3 with a 4 to finish the 14th over.
It's beautiful, really, because you have to go inside out. You're kind of changing your trajectory completely of where you're going to hit the ball, and it's specifically done. It's not just him hitting the ball because he can. He's having to pick out that part of the ground, which is a shorter boundary. It's in between the two fielders, one at deep extra cover, one at long off, who've kind of crunched that space down to a bare minimum. So it really, really is an impressive shot to play. Harry Brook continuing his stunning run of form.
He's played so well, hasn't he? Been absolutely superb. Right, Atif, thank you very much indeed. For the time being, James Foster is back with us. Former England wicketkeeper across all 3 formats, coaching the PSL, the IPL, with England as well this year. What have you made of this performance so far with the bat from England?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been very good. You would have thought they're going to be on course for over 200 runs here. What I've loved is whenever we had like a little moment, like in Hasnain got those 2 wickets in that over, you've then seen the likes of Milan and Duckett building a new partnership by scoring quickly. It wasn't a case of taking time to do that.
Hasnain is back into the attack, driven elegantly by Milan, but a good tumbling stop from Asif to prevent the boundary. Just the 1 run taken, 147 for 3.
And then Milan going to his options really early, especially against spin. You guys just touched on it there about Iftikhar. He's sort of had a bit of a hold over the England batters in this series, but that first over, the England boys went after him in Milan, and Duckett put him under immense pressure. And now you see Brook, who's taken him down in that last over as well. Brook's flying at the moment, 23 or 14.
This is down the leg side, and Brook trying to help it on its way, but unable to do so. It won't be signalled wide because he stepped across the stumps. And the score remains at 147 for 3.
Yeah, gone for the ramp. It's something I've seen in practice a lot this summer. This year at Headingley for the Northern Superchargers, one of his many options that he has, his plethora of run-scoring options. What a talent this young man is. Coming to the side again for this series, and you'd probably say he's looked world class.
Hasnain running in, he tries the ramp again, hits the toe end of the bat. It was more the Crucible than it was the Gaddafi Stadium, that as it potted into the offside, and a single is taken. 148 for 3. It might absolutely hit the toe end of the bat. Oh, it does, skews away into the offside.
Yeah, it's got him in the helmet as well, isn't he? It's got this sort of toe into the bat into the grill. Able to scamper a quick single and get down the other end, but what you see now, Benny the physio getting out there.
And so what happens? Concussion check here, and what happens in a concussion check?
I mean, it's irrelevant as to how hard a hit that you get. Even if it's a glancing blow, the protocol is now that the physio runs on, asks a few questions, I think it'll be some basic questions like what day is it, who's the Prime Minister, which might throw a few people out at the moment. Where do you live?
Right. So just to make sure that
just to make sure that you're in sync. Right now, Harry Brooks said, "Yeah, fine, yeah, all good. Let's just crack on." But you've got to then check the helmet, and then you go, right, you're good to go. Yeah, just rock and roll, and you crack on.
148 for 3 is the score. We're midway through the 15th over, and we've seen the innings of Hales and Salt curtailed in the space of 3 balls earlier on, with Hales out LBW for 18. Salt was run out 2 balls later for 20. Ben Duckett run out. Well, saying run out, I think that was a stumping for me. From Rizwan for 30. And David Milan's there on 43. Brook is on 24 from just 16. And England on course for a big total. In comes Hasnain running in again. Right arm over. Short ball. Hostile ball. And Milan sways out of the way of it. Nicely bowled.
Quick. Good pace. Just bowling that line. David Milan just sort of ducked inside it. Good player of fast-paced bowling. David Milan just swayed inside it. Was probably hoping that maybe the umpire might raise his arm for a leg side wide, but wasn't to be in an important dot ball for the Pakistan team.
Current run rate will see England just over 200. Hasnain comes sprinting in. Milan waiting, whipping the ball around the corner, but a good parry as much as anything from Rizwan, because that would have been at the boundary in a heartbeat. But he managed just to push that ball towards fine leg. And the fielder there to pick up the pieces with just 1 added to the score. 148 for 3. We've got a ball left of the 15th over.
Important stop this from Rizwan. It's a ball that's just landed in front of him, died full stretch to his right. Stopping that going from 4 really just gives the team and the bowler a lot of confidence. We've seen earlier a couple of poor bits of fielding from Wasim and Hasnain himself, actually.
Final ball of the 15th over is chased as it's made into a wide-ish delivery. Brooks stepping to the leg side, looking to uppercut the ball. He misses. It's not too wide to be signalled wide, and the over finishes 149 for 3. Now, before I hand over to Stefan Schemmelt, let me just offer hearty congratulations to the newly married Simon near Cambridge. Simon and Sandra, many congratulations to you. I know, Simon, it's not been an easy year, but married yesterday, and I hope you had a brilliant day. And it is significant because Simon, Stefan, was with us throughout the Women's World Cup earlier in the year, emailing pretty much every night. And it was always good to hear from you. So Simon and Sandra, many congratulations to you. And I hope you've had a really good weekend. 149 for 3 is the score. 200 on James, and then it'll be Stefan.
Absolutely. The way the boys are batting at the moment, plus with the firepower to come. Mo and Ali, I would have thought would be coming in next. That's for Sam Curran, Chris Wokes, David Willey down there at number 9, and Adil Rashid at 10. How about that? Maybe Adil can get in there and get a few if required. But now there's, you would have said, a very important over this from Pakistan, with Haris Rauf coming back into the bowling attack. 2 overs for 13 so far.
It's Pakistan's spearhead, Haris Rauf. Bowling to Milan, it's a pull off the hip. Right into the area, actually, where Dawid Milan put Phil Salt on the barbecue earlier on. Straight to short, fine leg. This time, Harry Brook, he's learned his lesson. He was not trying to get a single out of Milan there. Both men firmly in their crease. That stumping of Ben Duckett, gone down as a run-out. James, you having that in the Keepers Union?
No, I think that should be a stumping.
I think
I understand probably the rules and everything.
The letter of the law, I think if someone's attempting a run, it goes down as a run-out. But not for me,
that's
that.
Fair.
Partnership's 48 off 33 deliveries. Milan is lofting down the ground towards long on. Couple of bounces to Mohamed Nawaz. Single taken. So that brings up the England 150. 150 for 3 from 15.2 overs. Doesn't need a maths genius to work out. It's around 10 and over. England on course for a big total. Having been asked to bat after Pakistan won the toss, and you think, just try and negate those difficult conditions that we're expecting for bowlers. as the dewful really takes hold in the second innings. 35 deliveries for England's third 50. Brook on strike, 24 off 17. The right-hander from Yorkshire, crouching, goes outside his leg stump. Now he's hit this high and straight. It's hanging in the air and it's taken, dropped. I can't believe it. That is an absolute dolly to be put down by Babar Azam, the Pakistan captain, on the edge of the ring at mid-off. A simpler catch you will not see dropped in international cricket.
Wow. Harry Brook there has held the pose like he's just stuck it 10 rows back, but he's just clothed it. A wonderful slow ball from Ralph, and it's just gone straight to Babar on the edge of the ring, and somehow it's gone through his hands. You can see him now absolutely livid with himself.
They ran a single, 151 for 3. Brook gets a life on 24. Milan drives the next ball behind square on the offside. There's a good diving stop on the edge of the ring by the backward point fielder. Doesn't prevent England from taking a single, 152 for 3. That's 2 catches that Babar's dropped now, both pretty simple actually. He looked at his hands after both were put down as if to say, how have you failed me?
Oh yeah, it's normally a good catcher as well from what I've seen him play the game. Good fielder in around that extra cover mid-off area. And he's going to be devastated with that. Also as a captain, normally if that was the other way round.
Brook on strike again, short ball from Harris down the leg side, called wide. I'd followed Brook slightly, but actually went way down the leg side, so rightly called wide. 153 for 3.
Could you imagine the spray he'll be giving someone if one of his other fielders dropped that catch?
Did you spray fielders when you were captain?
Absolutely not, because I knew I'd probably drop more than my fair share, so I couldn't afford to.
What I have noticed Babar doing, he's got a towel in the back of his trousers. He's been drying his hands. His hands must have been wet.
Dew. What can you do?
Crowd are chanting Harris Ralph's name as running into bowl to Harry Brook. Number 97 on his back, Harris. Excellent slower ball. Completely befuddles Harry Brook. He was through his shot about half an hour, I think, before that ball arrived. It trickled through to the wicketkeeper Rizwan. Harris might be thinking, you know what, I'm going to have to do it without the fielders here. And that wasn't far away from the leg stump.
It's been a real feature of his bowling today, Harris Ralph. Obviously got extreme pace, but then his ability to create this bit deception with his off-spinning slower ball has been so successful today. Almost got the wicket of Harry Brook there again, just missing the stumps. As Harry was through the shot way too early.
One delivery of the 16th over remain. This has been excellent from Harris on his return to the attack. 153 for 3 down the leg side, and Brook turns it behind square on the leg side. There is a fielder on the boundary who gets around and ensures it's only a single. Mohammed Wazib. I don't know if he was getting a little bit of grief there from the wicketkeeper Mohammed Rizwan, because the throw came in on the bounce. Was he telling him to keep it up? End of the over, 154 for 3.
Absolutely, because if it's dewy out there, I mean, you've got to bear in mind as a bowler and as a Pakistan team, your weapon is that ball. You want to make sure it's as dry as possible. As soon as it gets wet, the seam gets wet, it becomes a lot harder to control if you're trying to execute slow balls, if you're trying to go Yorkers. Whatever you decide to do, you want that ball to be dry as possible. So if a fielder's gone and thrown the ball in, 1 bounce, 2 bounce in, it's an absolute shocker.
4 to go then. What can England get up to? They made 221 for 3 in the third match of the series. That's when they won by 63 runs in Karachi. The Karachi leg of this series, 4 matches, that was shared 2-all. Since we've moved on to Lahore, 2 games here, 1 win apiece. It's left us at 3-all going into this decider. As Henry Moran said earlier on, it's only the second time in T20 internationals that we've had a 7-game series. The other one won by Malawi when they defeated Mozambique in 2019 5-1. There was 1-0 result. So I guess it's the first time that there's actually been 7 completed games.
Did you watch that series today?
Well, I can tell you, because I've been doing my research. New over, Mohamed Waseem, right arm over, number 74. Bowls to Brook. It's a slower ball that Brook punches up towards mid-off. And there's no run. England 155 for 3. I just had to jog my memory. And I was right in thinking that the Malawi all-rounder, Sami Sahel, he had a really good time of it. He made 115 runs at an average of 115. And he also took 14 wickets with a best of 4 for 18.
All from the top of your head. That's incredible. Smart, man.
I was there in 2019 for the
there you go.
For the Kwacha Cup, Mozambique on tour in Malawi. 17th over of this decider between Pakistan and England in Lahore. Dawid Malan on 45 from 32 deliveries, just walks across his stumps. He's lofted a drive over the covers. I think he's going to get 4. He will. Extra cover was in the ring. The offside sweeper was square, and with a couple of bounces the ball's gone into the boundary sponge. Malan 49 off 33, England 159 for 3.
Malan here opening up his front leg, trying to give as much room for his hands to get through the line of the ball. A lovely shot, which he does this a lot against the spinners as well, striking it over extra cover. A real strength of his.
Malan waits. This will take him to 50. A turn off the toes up towards deep square leg. 50 from 34 deliveries, Malan. England 160 for 3. That's Malan's first half century in this series. He's played in every game for England. Apologies, this is his 6th game out of 7. And I don't think anyone's questioning Dawid Malan's place in the side, but he'll be thinking, do you know what? There's been some young thrusters scoring runs beneath me in the order. It's never a bad time to pass 50, especially when you think he was at fault as well for that Phil Salt run out earlier on. Harry Brook goes outside the leg stump, slashes at a slower ball and gets nothing on it. So Malan will be heading toward Australia, James, with a 50 in his back pocket.
Yep. Hasn't quite fired this 7-match series to date. You saw moments in the last match where he seemed quite happy with himself, felt like from knowing his body language a bit, he was hitting through a few of the balls through the covers. He was quite happy, but it was like coming back to him, that rhythm and that timing, because he's a real timing type of player.
Brook shovels this one up towards long on. Now the fielder's had to tumble to his right, and there's a call straight away for England to take 2. Brook jogs back. England 162 for 3. There's one delivery of the 17th to go. Some spectators in the Gaddafi Stadium have got a huge Pakistan flag. I reckon that's the size of a couple of double beds. They're waving it in the crowd. Brook on 29. England red shirt, navy trousers, navy pads. They whipped this one behind square for a massive 6. One bounce into the fence in front of the crowd. It was a leg stump half volley from Waseem. Poor delivery. And Brook, with rapid hands and strong wrists, just flicks it for 6. England 168 for 3 at the end of the 17th.
Stunning shot this. Kept his balance beautifully. Even after the shot, it's held. His balance was just, like you said there, Steph, just used the power on his wrists to strike the ball over deep square leg. A lot of power on that young man, a lot of ability, a lot of timing. A very important boundary, important 6 that for the England team. Just had a nice little period there with the Rouse previous over the Pakistan. Just England couldn't quite get going, so it's a very important last ball which went for 6 for the England team, trying to get up towards his total of 200, bearing in mind they've got Haris Rauf still with another over to go.
tms@bbc.co.uk if you want to email us, as Phil Taylor has done. It's not that one, is it? I really hope it is. I was checking in for a car rental in Calgary when a Pakistani gentleman at the desk asked whether I liked cricket, and we discussed the current exciting series. He said, in that case, I will give you a free upgrade of the car. I wonder what I could get for discussing cricket. What upgrades are on offer anywhere? Now this is a short ball from Hasnain that's caught Malan in the ribs, and now he's lying on his back. I don't know if he's just been winded. He was attempting a pull shot. I don't think he was beaten for pace. I think he might, if anything, he was through the shot too early. He's doing some really interesting exercises, Malan. He's just raising his knees to his chest. I don't know if he's been winded slightly. slightly yoga-y, I would say that was from Dawid Malan. Yeah, Hasnain just rolled his fingers over it. In fact, hit Malan on the glove or the wrist, and then got into the tummy area. Should it have been that painful? Has he made a meal of that?
Yeah. Tough man is Mala. Is known for his toughness within the England setup. It's one of those where when your body's stretched in one position and then it's got him on the other side, just probably just tickle the ribs a little bit.
Milan's okay, he's facing up to the next ball, he pulls again, but no time, and it goes into the leg side just for a single. 169 for 3 England. James Foster, former England wicketkeeper, have you ever been given any good freebies just because of who you are?
No, I think that's probably why.
Do you get nothing in Chelmsford? You must, around the Chelmsford area.
Nope.
You must drink for free in every pub.
Nope, nothing of the sort.
I bet you've never tried. You're too nice a bloke to try, aren't you?
It's I've been unfortunate with a few of those things. It's never really come my way. Maybe there's a reason behind that. Maybe not quite reached the level which some of these boys do.
I'm not having that. In Essex, I mean, they must be building a statue of you. Hasnain's in again to Brook. It's a drive up towards deep extra cover. Well, deep cover, really. Just for a single. England 170 for 3. Or if you've ever forgotten, I don't know if you mustn't need accreditation or whatever to get into the ground, or you've tried to get into the wrong gate or whatever, and you've had a steward just stop you. And have you gone, but I'm James Foster? Doesn't matter who you are, get them parked around there.
No, but I remember being in a nightclub in Ilford.
Okay.
A place called Faces nightclub, which is in Gants Hill.
Hasnain strive into the crease. That's a really wild wide down the leg side that Malan chases but gets nothing on. 171 for 3 England halfway through the 18th. Ilford, an Essex outground?
No, so this oh yes.
Yeah.
It's actually not far from the outground. Faces nightclub in Gants Hill. Pop to the gentleman's, come back after the toilet and go, this guy goes, do you know what? You look just like James Foster. I said, do you know what? I get that a few times.
England tracking for 195 of their current progress. This is picked up by Malan behind square, 1 bounce for 4. Hasnain's lost his line to the left-hander in this over. Previous delivery was well wide down the leg side, and this time it was just on Malan's knees, really. He could pick it up easily. England move on to 175 for 3.
The Pakistan attack have been using their off-cutters a lot in his last few overs, been very effective, but unfortunately there for Hussain, he's just got his line slightly wrong, and just Malan's able to help that hit the ball for 4 in between deep square leg and short fine leg.
Malan has 55 from 37, 7 fours and a 6. He's got his back pointing to where his gully would be. Now this is a hook shot, high in the air for 6, over deep backward square. Just for a moment I wondered if the fielder Asif Ali might have been in the game, but instead he could only turn and watch the ball bounce off a massive speaker beyond the advertising boards. England 181 for 3.
Stunning shot from Dawid Malan here. Hasnain just banged the ball into the pitch. So Malan so good out with that pull shot, 85 metres back. Big 2 balls this for the England team, trying to get up to that total of 200. 4 followed by a 6. On course currently, this current rate, to get to 203 runs.
It's Malan's second 6. He's 61 not out. If England go at 12 and over from here, it's 207. 14, it's 211. 13 deliveries of the innings to go. The 4 fielders inside the ring are all on the offside. Everyone on the leg side is on the boundary, which explains Hasnain's angle of attack. He's just tried to run in, but Malan wasn't ready. Babar Azam at extra cover is just like a traffic policeman, shunting fielders here and there. It doesn't really matter where he's got his fielders if Malan's hooking the ball beyond the advertising boards. Last ball of the 18th. This is the last ball of Hasnain's spell. He's in past the umpire and bowling. Another short ball, another one that Milan pulls. And this time Asif Ali can do the fielding on the bounce. England trot through for a single. It's the end of Mohamed Hasnain. His 4 overs have gone for 32. He's taken 1 wicket. That of Alex Hales earlier on for 18. And with 2 to go, England 182 for 3.
It'll be interesting to see where they go now. Do they bring Ralph in for the 19th over, or they want to save him for the 20th? Often you find that you want to try and bring your best bowler back slightly earlier, because then if you can get a wicket, then you get a new batsman in for the last 2 overs of the game. It might be only 6 balls, 7 balls, whatever it might be, rather than saving him for the last one and then trying to do the damage then. You want to try and get your wicket now. But having said that, England do have Mo coming in next, who's pretty good at striking the ball from ball 1.
I think I know of another time, James Foster, when you will have been recognised a lot, and probably it wouldn't have been welcome. When you were touring Australia as an England player, and the amount of grief you might have got in the streets, in the restaurants, just from ordinary Aussies.
Yeah, I mean, they wouldn't have known who I was, but for example, I remember touring Australia 20 odd years ago, and you have to go to the gym, which again is probably unusual for me, seeing my physique.
Haris Rauf starting the 19th over. He's got figures of no wicket for 18. He's been excellent from his 3. Now this has gone miles up from Dawid Malan, right into the Lahore night, higher than the floodlights even. There's a fielder underneath. He dropped it. It's Mohamed Wasim. In fairness, it went so high it probably came down with snow on it, and Milan's able to run through for a single. England 184 for 3, but it's the 3rd catch that goes down for Pakistan.
Ralph is going to be absolutely spewing in his previous over as well. Harry Brook was dropped. Dawid Malan's that is so high up in the air. But interestingly, you've got Mohamed Wasim. You probably wouldn't say is one of your best fielders at deep cow.
He was on the boundary. Once again, there's no one saving one on the leg side. Ralph tries again. That's a very full delivery. There'll be an appeal for LBW. I think that's missing leg stump. Milan trots through for 1 something. Straight away, Haris Rauf is making the T symbol towards his captain Babar Azam, saying, I want the review for that. I don't know if Babar has obliged yet. He's looking very stern-faced. I think they have. I think Pakistan have gone for the review. The umpire, I think, was about to signal for a leg by, but stopped himself
I have checked front foot.
whilst Pakistan decided if they were going to go for the review.
Can I have front on spin vision, please?
The TV umpire is Rashid Riaz.
Looked like that pitched a long way outside leg.
Yeah, I couldn't see that hit it. Well, here we go. I think that's pitched outside leg stump. You can almost see all 3 stumps after it's hit Dawid Malan. Feels speculative. We're going to go through the rigmarole of seeing if there's any bat on it. There wasn't.
Satisfied, no bat involved. You can move on to ball tracking when it's ready.
So the ball tracking will tell us of Dawid Malan's fate. We've seen another slow-mo. We don't need this. We know exactly what's happened now. There was no bat, so come on.
For the
bring it on.
Tracking, gents.
Someone's just told us ball tracking's ready.
Decision not out.
Here we go. Pitched quite a long way outside leg stump. I think it's probably 4th stump. I reckon that's pitched outside leg. And I don't know if Haris Rauf there was emotionally driven after seeing that dropped catch from the previous delivery. And we were making the point of, Mohamed Wasim, the big fast bowler. He was at cow corner, and he had to come in. He was about halfway between the boundary and the 30-yard circle. His only defence was how high the ball went, but should have been taken at this level of the game. England 185 for 3 with Milan reprieved. It was a leg by. Milan 64, Brook 36. 10 deliveries of the innings remaining. Harris steams in. Another very full, fast delivery. Hunting the toes. It hits Brook on the pad. Rolls into the offside. England run a leg by. 186 for 3. Just seeing the replays of Pakistan's drop catches. There's been 3 of them. Milan on 29 and 62. And Brook on 26. none of them you would say were especially difficult.
I mean, for that last one, he should not be fielding that position. That's poor planning from the Pakistan point of view.
Malan swings and misses. Another slower ball from Harris, rolling his fingers over an off-cut. Precious dot ball. And James, you know, as a man yourself who's worked it in franchise leagues, you know, Kolkata in the Indian Premier League, Peshawar in the PSL, coach of Northern Superchargers in the 100 last year. Those things are worked out, aren't they, beforehand, who goes where?
Yeah, absolutely right. And he will know that he shouldn't be in that position, but the other fielders should be saying, mate, you're in the wrong position, and they should be being proactive and swapping. It shouldn't always be down to the captain.
Milan's on 64 from 42 balls. He goes across his stumps. He heaves into the onside, straight to deep backward square leg for a single. England gone to 187 for 3. One thing I've always wanted to know, from a professional cricketer's point of view, when a particular bowler comes on, does every fielder know where they should be, or do they still need some direction from the captain?
You generally find field placements are pretty standard, but then often you'll know that there'll be a tactical decision beforehand in your planning where someone might need to be a little bit square or a little bit straighter, and then that will get spread amongst the 11 who are playing, and then sometimes the captain will remind them out in the field.
Harris with the final ball of the over. Harry Brook's taken one hand off the bat as it's played into the leg side aerially. Couple of bounces, two fielders converge. It's not picked up cleanly by Asif Ali. England get back for a couple to deep mid-wicket. 19 gone. England 189 for 3, and Haris Rauf, amid the carnage, has somehow bowled 4 overs, no wicket for 24. He's only gone for a run of ball, and he should have had 2 wickets as well with 2 drop catches. He's been outstanding.
It's been an absolute pleasure to watch. Obviously with England's hat on, you don't want to see that, but it's some stunning bowling. It really is. Everyone else has found it incredibly tough, all the other seamers, but he's just looked a step ahead, if I'm being honest. He's used his off-cutter a lot during these 4 overs and has been so effective. I mean, the ability of his off-cutter is really accentuated because of the high pace that he can produce, which makes it that much tougher for any batsman who faces him.
Just to say as well, on the subject of planning, you are looking every inch, the franchise coach, Mohamed Wasim, begins the final over. Now this is swatted by Malan high into the leg side. Is it going to go for 6? It is. Long old hit by Malan. He goes on to 71, just picked up off the pads. And again, Pakistan targeting that leg side of Malan, and he keeps finding the boundary. 195 for 3.
Yep, slow ball, but way too full for Malan. He picks it really early and has a beautiful strike. Swing of the blade going a long way, 88 metres into the boundary. Sorry, Steph.
Well, what I wanted to say is you've got your notepad and you've got your tablet in front of you. You look like you could be coaching now.
It's all for show.
Wasim's got a white towel poking out the back of his trousers. Low full toss that Malan has just sliced behind square for 4. There was 2 fielders in the ring. Short third and a backward point. And it's a poor delivery from Wasim because he's got the field set back on the leg side, and instead he's gone outside the off stump, and Malan picks up 4 more, 199 for 3.
So good square of the wicket, David Malan. Again, getting that line wrong, able to get his hands through the ball and just open the face slightly, getting it down to that square boundary.
Listen to the silence in Lahore. This partnership's worth 98 from only 60 deliveries. Wasim's conceded 51 from 3.2. He's in again to Malan. This time it's edged towards short third. Brooks through quickly for the single. The throw missed anyway. That brings up the England 200. 200 for 3 with 3 deliveries of the innings still to go. Malan's on to 76. Partnership now worth 99. England will feel like they really have given them Pakistan a stiff target to chase in this second innings, despite the difficulty we think they're going to encounter when the outfield and the ball gets wet. Lovely sign from a young man being held up in the crowd saying, "See you soon, England." Brook hits this one high, straight. It's into the night sky. Is it going to be another maximum? It is. It's cleared the boundary rope, it's cleared the advertising board, and it's almost entered the England dugout. over long on, 206 for 3. Brooks on to 45 from 28.
Okay, another slower ball, but again over-pitched from Wasim. He's going to be really disappointed with this final over. The execution, understand the thinking. Sometimes, as a coach, you talk about, I listened to Darren Sammy this campaign.
Tries again, does Wasim. It's on the leg side. Brook will be disappointed that he hasn't picked that one up over backward square. It's just hit him on the pad. And England run through for a leg by. 207 for 3 with one delivery of the over remaining. It's already gone for 18 this last over.
Yeah, Darren Sammy, we're listening to him during the CPL talk about planning and tactics, but ultimately it's got to be the execution from a bowling point of view, getting your line and length right.
Last ball of the innings then. Malan on strikes. Good Yorker from Wasim. Malan went across his stumps. He's dug it out towards wideish long on, and England trot back for 2. They end on 209 for 3. They have set Pakistan 210 to win this series, and from the last 5 overs, England took 60 runs thanks to that partnership between Brook and Malan, which was worth 108 from 10.1 overs. Malan ends up 76 not out. Harry Brook 46 not out.
England are going to be delighted with that. I really do think that Pakistan are going to have to chase 210 runs. I also think from Pakistan point of view what it could have been if Pakistan have held on to those catches, especially in those last few overs when Harris Rauf really made it happen. It looked really difficult for the England boys to face him. If they could have taken those wickets then, it could be a very different story. But Harris Rauf was an absolute joy to watch with the ball.
England were asked to bat by Pakistan. Hales and Salt gave them another rapid start before Hales was LBW to Mohammad Hasnain for 18. Then Phil Salt was run out in a horrible mix-up with Malan. No fault of Salt's really. He wanted the single. Malan sent him back. He was out for 20. But Malan made amends, first in a partnership of 62 with Ben Duckett that came in 5.2 overs. Duckett was eventually run out. I think he should have been stumped, really. It was excellent work by Mohammad Rizwan, doing the keeper out of a victim. Fast hands from the keeper. That left England 101 for 3 at the halfway point, and Malan was joined by Harry Brook for a partnership of 108. Malan ending up 78 not out, Brook 46 not out. England were 168 for 3. There is a T20 series to be won. The first time that a 7-match T20 series has gone to a decider. The Malawi-Mozambique series was heavily one-sided in favour of the Malawi side. And Pakistan need 210 to beat England. And it sounds like a tall order. It is a tall order. But if you wanted a particular opening pair to come and make a start in that chase, it would be Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan, wouldn't it, Atif Nawaz?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they've got to try and make more history here. Their highest ever successful chase in T20 internationals is against the West Indies, and that was 208. So they'll have to go at least a couple better here against England. But it's a history-making series, 17 years in the making. They're two of the best batters in the world in this format. Both the most recent number ones in the rankings as well. So if there's any two that can do it, it's these two. But from an England perspective, it's really just about breaking this partnership, because once you get through them, you're through to that middle order that hasn't quite fired for Pakistan. They'd be heavy favourites.
Well, let's not forget in the second match of this series, Pakistan chased 200 for the loss of no wickets with 3 balls to spare. That was Babar and Rizwan.
100 for Babar on that occasion. It's Rizwan who's been the more consistent of the two in this series. He's topping the wicket taker standings, the run scorer standings.
He's on strike now, Rizwan, and he's giving a volley of abuse to someone who's just moved behind Chris Woakes, as Woakes began to run in to bowl the first ball of this second innings. There's a slip in place, and Woakes was almost into his delivery stride, and Rizwan, who seems like a fairly affable chap.
He is, yeah. I think he got a bit annoyed. There's a lot of people. There's more people in the Gaddafi Stadium today than there ever have been, owing to demand for this game.
Here we go then. 210 to win for Pakistan. Woakes to Rizwan. It's clipped straight away to short mid-wicket. And there's no run. So Pakistan are underway. And Chris Woakes, who's playing his second game of his comeback, he played his first game since March in the 5th T20 International. It struck me that when Chris Woakes last played for England before then, the two captains were Joe Root and Owen Morgan.
Well, a lot's changed.
The coach was Chris Silverwood.
Yeah. He had all sorts of different things in those days.
Actually, the coach wasn't Chris Silverwood, it was Paul Collingwood. As Woakes bowls outside the off stump, Rizwan chops into the offside and under edge, and Pakistan are away with that pinched single. Just another 209 to go, and it brings Babar Azam on strike. He might think that he owes his team some runs after dropping 2 catches. He's certainly getting the support of the Lahore crowd.
Yeah, I mean, he's widely adored in Pakistan. No surprises there, really. You can hear him chant his name in Lahore. Born in Lahore, of course, doesn't represent them in the Pakistan Super League, plays for rivals Karachi.
Why is that?
It's just the way it sort of shook out in the first edition, and like since then he's,
He's right-handed, he's got piercing eyes as he looks towards Chris Woakes, who's bowling in the England red. It's just short of a length, and Babar defends from the crease into the offside. 2 fielders converge on the ball. It's dependable stuff, as you would expect from Chris Woakes, the man they call the Wizard. 1 without loss after 3 balls.
It'll be very interesting to see if these two stick to their approach of going slightly conservative in the power play. We've talked about this a lot throughout the series. 46 is what they average together in the power play. It's 8th in the list of averages of teams around the world in this format. So do they adjust from that? Do they deviate from that? Even in the match where they chased down the score against England, the 200 plus score, it required them to go a little bit quicker.
Slip's gone out. Woakes bowls a leg stump, half volley. I don't even know if it was leg stump. Either way, Babar Azam has clipped it wristily past mid-on for 4. Don't know if it was the line that necessarily let Woakes down, but it was certainly the length. Long half volley, and Babar Azam gets his first boundary. Pakistan 5 without loss.
I don't know what was more of a gift, really, that leg stump half volley to Babar Azam, or the milk chocolate digestive I've just been handed by James Foster. Very kind.
How are you going to eat it while you summarise that? And he's offering me one now.
Yeah,
and I think, look, I definitely want one, but I'm going to have to save it because I've got 2.
It's all about timing here, Stefan. It's all about our partnership, getting our rhythm together. Less of the Milan and Salt situation, more of the Brook and...
So you talk while I eat, basically?
Well, I was thinking the other way around, but why don't you face up to the seam bowler?
2 deliveries left of the first over, and Chris Woakes is in, bowling to Babar. It's a drive back to the bowler that Woakes does well to get down low in his follow-through and do the fielding. What I like about that is James relatively new to Test Match Special, but straight in there with the biscuits, no messing.
He knows how to ingratiate himself with the squad here. We like our sweets and chocolates and things like that. I mean, go back to Babar Azam again. Those 2 drops, so uncharacteristic. Usually one of the better fielders in the side, very focused and determined. He'll be doing his very best to put those out of his mind right now and concentrate on the task at hand.
Last ball, the first over. Woakes bowls, driven aerially, taken at short extra cover by Harry Brook. It was a full ball from Woakes. I don't know if he just held it back slightly. It looked like Babar was through the shot, and it was a simple catch to Harry Brook in front of his chest. And the Pakistan captain goes for 4. They're 5 for 1.
Yeah, that is a very, very disappointing end, but a huge wicket for England. Babar Azam, we talk about the threat that he possesses. Just as you say, the ball just a little bit, just held in the surface a little bit. He checked his shot, but he couldn't stop the ball going aerial. Expertly positioned fielder, extra cover from Moeen Ali for Chris Woakes, and Chris Woakes' comeback to the side continues. It could be a dream comeback here. He gets the wicket of Babar Azam, Pakistan, we've talked about that middle order. They haven't fired yet, really, for Pakistan in any of the games, barring one where Shan Masood got himself 70. Well, you're up, boys. What can you do? Pressure's on. Big game. Decider against England. It's time for that big performance that's evaded them.
The short extra cover is often posted in short form white ball cricket, but Brook seemed like a particularly short extra cover there. And the catch came to him at head height. He took it nicely. And that's the difference as well. If you think of the catches that Babar Azam himself dropped, different types of catches, but no more difficult than what Brook just had to take. And what I mean by that is they're both actually all quite straightforward.
Yeah.
Brook's clung on to his, and now Babar Azam has walked back to the pavilion to be replaced by Shan Masood, who himself could do with some runs. He'll be at the non-strikers end for Reece Topley's first over, the second over of the chase. And Chris Woakes will be pleased about that because he'll know that maybe pace bowling spots in this England side are at a premium for the World Cup. We talked about it earlier on that Chris Jordan's going to come back into the squad. You'd think Mark Wood would play every game when he's fit. Topley's bowling, that's hit Rizwan on the pad as an appeal from Phil Salt, but it's heading well down the leg side. I think Topley is probably first choice as well, the way he's bowled with the left arm angle, so there might only be one pace bowling slot available for the likes of Woakes and Jordan and Sam Curran and David Willey to fight over, maybe, depending on the makeup of the England side. We won't get into that again. You can do it yourself with the selector on the BBC Sport website.
Smooth. I wish I'd known you were going to do that. I would have had my biscuit. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is a serious challenge for this Pakistan side.
Rizwan has bowled him! Fantastic Yorker from Reece Topley, leaps into the air. And Pakistan's big two are gone in the space of 8 deliveries. Rizwan for 1, Pakistan are 5 for 2. That's a searing Yorker from Reece Topley.
Yeah, there's a look of resignation about Rizwan as he walks off. He knows he's just been done in by an outstanding ball from Reece Topley. It was full, it was fast. Maybe just came back in a touch as well, just off the surface. He played all round there. There's a hint of Shaheen Shah Afridi about that delivery, particularly the ball he bowled to KL Rahul in the World Cup last year. Just came back in, a big celebration. He jumps into the air and punches his fist out as Reece Topley, because he knows that's also a prize wicket. The world number 1, who's been in such good touch, who's been so heavily leaned on by Pakistan, he's gone as well. Well, it's becoming a more and more improbable chase as the game goes on.
When Reece Topley leapt into the air there, he looked like WWE champion Roman Reigns' Superman punch. The way I'm getting blank looks all around.
No, I'm with you, absolutely. I mean, it was a spear of a delivery, wasn't it? There we go.
But the way, I mean, now England, they couldn't have asked for a better start. They will have known that with that target of 210, that Pakistan would be dangerous through Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan. But 8 balls into the innings, they've got rid of them both, and they've got Iftikhar Ahmed, who's just arriving at the crease and taking his guard, and Shan Masood, neither of whom have faced a ball. Wicket apiece for Woakes and Topley. And that was a spectacular sight to see the off-stump pegged back and the Zinger bales flying into the Lahore Knights. And you were right to say it, Atif. He just played all round it.
He did. He just got into all sorts of the wrong position, but it was a very good ball. And just as we said at the start, this was the key for England, getting through those 2 batters.
Topley to Iftikhar, defended. Ball barely leaves the pitch. There's a slip in place. The pressure that this Pakistan pair are under now. No time to rebuild, really, when you're chasing 210. Just looking at it again. It took the off stump. Remember the left arm angle from Topley, but Rizwan was trying to play that through mid-wicket. Probably far too square when he should have been trying to play back down the ground.
Yeah, it's the kind of delivery that gets you back into selection contention as well, isn't it?
Topley bowls to Iftikhar, punched off the back foot, through a gap in the covers. Duckett's after it. It's David Willey who picks up and throws from the deep extra cover boundary. Pakistan take a couple, 7 for 2.
We're going to need, if Pakistan are to stay in this, they're going to need their middle order to step up in a big way. They haven't really looked like doing it throughout this series. Shan Masood got 65 in one game in a losing cause against England. Of course, Iftikhar is sort of 40-ish scores for Pakistan, but never really had to bat this much time, and certainly not at this kind of rate for Pakistan. So England with this early advantage. If they get one more in the power play, they'll feel like they're halfway home.
Topley, tall figure, bowls to Iftikhar, set off but sent back by Shan Masood. Moeen Ali was quickly in. I reckon there was maybe half a single there.
Yeah, never a run there, but he did turn back reasonably quickly. Iftikhar, he's played a lot of cricket in Pakistan, not a lot of international cricket. It was his 31st T20 international. His highest score is 62, averaging 26.82.
Topley lopes in past the umpire and bowls down the leg side. Iftikhar's got that fine, it'll go for 4. It was short, loose delivery from Topley, and Iftikhar just helped it very fine past the fine leg fielder who was in the ring, and Pakistan are 11 for 2 after 2. The target is 210, but they've lost Babar Azam for 4 and Rizwan for 1.
We saw a similar kind of shot to this from David Milan earlier on, where it was almost sort of off the gloves, really. So high up on the bat, takes a bit of glove on its way through and trickles away fine. The fielders sort of give up, really. There's no chance of chasing it. It's a lightning quick outfield at the Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore. England still riding that wave, really. The 2 early wickets. You got Babar so early, and then followed that up with Rizwan. And to get Rizwan in quite spectacular fashion, sometimes it's not just the fact that you get the wicket, but the manner in which you take that wicket that stamps your authority on the game.
It's not what you do, it's how you do it.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah. I don't have a better way to phrase it. A 199 off 108. This will be a big challenge for Pakistan.
Wokes is bowling his second over. Shan Masood's first ball's driven to mid-off. Short single taken, thrown by Sam Curran at the striker's end. One of the more wild throws you'll ever see. It was nowhere near wicketkeeper Phil Salt as Pakistan run through for a single. 12 for 2.
That's something pointed out to me as well, Stefan. Now, I did mention earlier that Pakistan's never won a T20 international series against England before. Someone just pointed out that back in 2006, they played a one-off T20. I don't think that counts as a series. Does it count as a series, a one-off match?
No, because it's a one-off match.
Yeah, right? So I think that record stands.
Wokes is bowling to the right-handed Iftikhar. It hits him on the pad. That's hit him well down the leg side. There might even have just been a hint of inside edge as well. We've just seen a replay that showed us that the delivery that got Babar Azam was about 12 miles an hour slower than what Wokes had bowled his previous 3 deliveries to the Pakistan captain.
Yeah, just changing up their pace. So Pakistan attempt to do that. At that point, the set batters did the damage.
On the leg stump again from Wokes, but excellent fielding by Moeen Ali at mid-wicket. Prevents the boundary because that clip from Iftikhar was powerfully struck. 13 for 2. It's a feature, actually, of the England game that they've got their extra cover and their mid-wicket quite tight. It's almost like a goalkeeper narrowing the angle of a striker running through.
Yeah, they've clearly worked out the dimensions of the surface as well. They've looked around. This is bang in the middle of the Gaddafi Stadium, the strip they're using today. This is a used pitch as well, one that was used for the 5th game.
Shan Masood drives outside of the bat, slice down towards wide, third man for 4. Reece Topley just trots around to his left to pick up the ball after it's rolled into the boundary sponge. Chris Wokes on his way back to his mark, disappointed with himself. Just gave Masood a little bit too much width. 17 for 2.
Yeah, Shan Masood didn't move his feet too much. Didn't really have to. It was kind of in an area where he could lean into it. He always looked more graceful as a left-hander anyway, even if you don't really move your feet to the ball. It's a high percentage of beating that fielder at a very fine-ish set deep third.
Wokes kicks up his heels, bowls to Masood. Now that's a straighter ball, it's a slower ball that Masood turns around the corner to the deep backward square leg fielder for a single. Pakistan are 18 for 2. Remember, the target is 210. England earlier on being propelled to 209 for 3 by some excellent work from Dawid Malan, who made 78 not out from 47 balls, 8 fours and 3 sixes. Harry Brook 46 not out from 29 balls, 1 4 and a 6. Contributions from Salt, Hales and Duckett as well. Wokes to complete the third over. It's into the body of Iftikhar, round about waist height, just back of a length. Wokes gets applause from his captain Moeen Ali for that final dot ball. They'll be Warwickshire teammates next year. 3 overs gone. Pakistan 18 for 2, targets 210.
Yeah, I've spoken to both about it. They're both very excited about playing with one another next season for Warwickshire. And they'll still be playing in the first division, of course, of the county championship. And yeah, just thinking about this game in particular and Pakistan's efforts. I mean, earlier when they won the toss, I know the odds for the game swung massively in their favour. People talk about the advantage of having to chase in these conditions. It's just worth reminding everyone that for the final of the Asia Cup, when Pakistan played Sri Lanka, they won the toss there as well. Sri Lanka scored 180 and Pakistan were unable to get anywhere near it in the end.
England were 35 without loss at this stage, 3 overs into their innings. Just seen a wonderful shot of the moon over Lahore, half of it beautifully lit as David Willey begins a new over. His first, the fourth of the innings, pushed towards mid-off for a singles. Pakistan on to 19 for 2. I've got no idea if you can describe the moon as being lit up.
Shining brightly?
Shining bright, there you go.
Well, I suppose technically it's reflecting brightly, but
yeah.
For any scientists out there, I suppose. You do get a lovely view of it in Lahore. Nice clear atmosphere over there. And loads of great vantage points, loads of sort of very tall buildings that you can get to the top of and just stargaze.
Willey left arm over, bowls to Iftikhar. It's slides off the face of the bat behind square where Dawid Malan on his knees does the fielding at point. Pakistan 20 for 2. Shouldn't be able to see the moon though, should you, at night time? The sun's gone down.
Yeah, well, it's gone down. I mean, I don't want to get into the science of it because somebody out there is going to message me saying, actually, you're wrong. Well, you know what's bizarre? What I've just noticed, Stefan, there's that product placement thing for the giant washing machine, which we've enjoyed throughout this contest. The winner of that, whatever the contest is to do with the giant washing machine, gets a microwave.
Willey, number 15, bowls to left-handed Shan Masood. It's turned towards short fine leg where Adil Rashid does the field in. Pakistan 21 for 2. The other interesting thing about that washing machine, obviously it's powered by someone on a bike.
Yeah.
Now, amidst the cost of living crisis and energy bills going up, a washing machine powered by a bike could be really useful at home because you could get a workout and get your washing done for free.
I tell you what, we've had some great economical tips today. The Ben Duckett becoming an ambassador for
Duckett's Buckets.
Non-electronic cleaning products.
Willey chugs in. Iftikhar just plays the ball with no timing and no power to the man at short mid-wicket. You can hear England, they're all over this at the moment. They're buzzing in the field, being led by Phil Salt behind the stumps. 21 for 2 Pakistan. 2 deliveries, the fourth over to go. Target's 210.
That required rate already close to 12 and over. We're only into the fourth over of this innings.
Look at the glum faces at the Pakistan dugout.
There's Mohammad Yusuf and Haris Rauf eating something.
Willey with the blonde hair. Now this has gone straight up in the air from Iftikhar. A fielder will have to put their name on it. It's gone nowhere. Willey caught ball, dropped it. The wicketkeeper Phil Salt was standing right next to him, and you'd think that the man with the glove should be trying to take that catch, but I presume Willey has called for it and it's dropped out of the sky almost vertically. He's tried to take it. He's made a complete hash of it, and Iftikhar gets a life. Pakistan 21 for 2.
Yeah, he just got nowhere near that pull shot in the end. Iftikhar just hit the ball straight up in the air, completely done by the change of pace, and it went such a long way up in the air. We've already seen the Pakistani fielders struggle with that as well. Mohammad Wasim put one down earlier. When it goes so high up into the night sky, it just disappears.
Willey to complete the over. Classical drive from Iftikhar with a high front elbow. It goes towards mid-off where Reece Topley slides on his knees to do the fielding, makes the stop. They run a single. 22 for 2 Pakistan after 4. Just seeing the replay of the catch, it hit Willey on the heel of the hands. Now this will be instructive because you see the ball go so high above the floodlights. Phil Salt was about 6 yards away from Willey. He maybe couldn't have made it, the keeper. Willey was right underneath it. He would expect to take it. You know, often you say let the man with the gloves take as many or have as many opportunities of taking catches as possible. I think realistically Salt wouldn't have got there, and Willey should have caught it. If you can't catch him off your own bowling, when are you going to catch him?
Yeah, I mean, there is an element of that for sure, but because that's happened a couple of times tonight, you get the feeling there is some kind of difficulty maybe with those lights shining in towards the stadium from a great height. It makes those high catches very difficult. Maybe a little drill to keep in mind for future teams spending a bit more time on those high catches out of the floodlights. It is always a challenge. And I mean, for England though, had they got Iftikhar there, that would have been a third wicket in the power play with the game almost sealed up inside 4 overs of the Pakistan innings. Iftikhar survives though, and he's the kind of batter he's not the kind of batter, historically anyway, who can score a big innings, but he can hit that sort of medium-sized, high-impact innings.
He's facing up to Reece Topley now. Iftikhar has given himself room. There's a punch to point. There's a throw to the non-striker's end. Iftikhar's striving to reach his ground and does so, not least because the throw's missed. Pakistan 23 for 2 with that single.
Yeah, living very dangerously at the moment. A lot of circumspect behaviour from the batters who haven't quite settled. Iftikhar's on 10 off 12. So there's a bit of strike rate pressure on him for sure, you imagine.
Is there any more cricket for Pakistan between now and the World Cup?
Yeah, they all get on a flight tomorrow and go to New Zealand where they play a tri-series, and then they've got some warm-up games ahead of the World Cup, one of which is against England again in Adelaide.
Who else is in the tri-series?
I believe the third team is South Africa, but I could be wrong.
You're not wrong. Topley bowls to Shan Masood. It's worked around the front pad straight to mid-wicket again. That mid-wicket is close, narrow in the angle. Pakistan 23 for 2. Feels like an Owen Morgan legacy. That mid-wicket and those extra cover being close in. He always patrolled those areas, didn't he?
He did indeed. I should just correct myself. In that tri-series, it's Pakistan, New Zealand and Bangladesh.
You were wrong.
Who are going to play. I was wrong. Here we go. Miracles will never cease. Well, it'll be very exciting alongside the World Cup. The Pakistan Junior League is going to start as well.
Topley to Shan Masood. Drive towards extra cover. Throw from Sam Curran misses. Was Iftikhar was trying to reach his ground at the striker's end. I think Iftikhar was in trouble there. Sam Curran certainly does. He's got his hands on his head. I don't know if he was running slightly through quicksand, Iftikhar, or if Shan Masood had called for a single that was very, very short. It bounced up nicely for Sam Curran. Around about knee-height throw. Yeah, it would have been miles out.
They're taking their chances between the wickets at the moment, Pakistan. That scoreboard pressure, the pressure of that asking rate, which is now just above 12, definitely showing.
24 for 2, pulled by Iftikhar. I think this is going to go for 4. There is a man diving at deep backward square. It's Ben Duckett, but he can't get there. Full length. He'd beaten the fielder inside the ring at short fine leg. No great timing, but once it got through the ring, it was always likely to be 4. 28 for 2. Pakistan. I was just about to say, Atif, that they were taking risks in order to pinch those singles. Well, they ultimately don't matter, do they, to England? It's boundaries that Pakistan need.
Yeah, there's a big emphasis on rotating the strike, but you need some of the shots to go with it.
Topley again to Iftikhar. This is driven beautifully. Now that is one of the strokes of the night. He'd given himself room outside leg stump, Iftikhar, and then punched it wide of mid-off. Classically, high front elbow, holding the pose in the follow-through. 32 for 2, Pakistan.
Yeah, just brilliantly done. Just threaded the gap, didn't try and hit the ball too hard. Picked his spot and played the ball nicely through it. Let the outfield do the rest. It is a very, very quick outfield, and the dew's going to make it even quicker. And the ball's going to pick up some of that dew as well, rolling across that lush outfield.
Topley to complete the 5th over. It's jammed by Iftikhar out towards deep mid-wicket, where England have posted a field and out. 5 gone. Pakistan 33 for 2. Iftikhar 19. Shan Masood has 9. Just to linger on the point of what these respective teams are going to do at the end of this series, because the T20 World Cup is fast approaching. You'll be able to hear every game from that tournament on Test Match Special. Pakistan off to New Zealand to play a tri-series alongside Bangladesh, and England will play 3 T20s against the World Cup hosts Australia starting next Sunday, 9:10 in the morning. You'll be able to hear that game from Perth live on Test Match Special, and the man who's about to replace me will be there in the Optus Stadium. Henry Moran calling the action. Here he comes after some thoughts on Atif Nawaz.
Yeah, I'm just glad I got a chance there just to pick up on that bit of fielding from Ben Duckett out in the deep. He didn't get to the ball, but he threw himself at the ball again with just like this gay abandon every single time on the outfield in Pakistan. He's just been sliding and slipping all over the place. It's been very, very impressive to see the commitment.
In comes Willie, bowling his second over. Is that an edge? I think it is. Iftikhar feathering that ball through to Salts. The finger goes up. And this little partnership that threatened to give Pakistan a foothold in this game comes to an end. Willie, as he's done so many times for England over the years, I'm not sure he always gets the credit he deserves. He finds the important wicket. Pakistan 33 for 3.
Yeah, David Willey having that impact immediately. He knows the batters are going to be going after them, but he holds his nerve, hits his length nicely. Just back of a length, really. Just a bit slower pace on it as well, as Iftikhar was looking to just go up and over the point fielder. Just gets feathers a little top edge on its way through to the keeper. Phil Salt makes no mistake at all. Pakistan 33 for 3, meaning they've lost 3 in the power play, Henry, and we all know the stats.
We all know the stats.
We all know the stats.
I wonder what the stats will be when you add into the fact that they're chasing over 200, which I don't think necessarily reflects terribly well on the optimism for Pakistan supporters. There's 5 balls left of the power play, 33 for 3. The replay of that was wonderful because as we saw the edge And then Phil Salt's face, he had his arms outstretched in front of him with a big grin well before the ball had got there, almost as if someone was presenting an enormous tray of biscuits. He was sort of waiting, hello.
That's good. You get now you know how I felt when James Foster turned up with the milk chocolate digestives.
I tell you, he's absolutely outstanding. Stefan actually had a little pile of them next to him as he was commentating.
You see, I don't know how he's managed to do it, because I've only managed to take 2 bites out of mine whilst on commentary. So I was always on standby. I'm always on standby, you never know.
Kushdil Shah is the next man in. You have that biscuit. Oh, James Foster is trying to, honestly, the finely tuned athletic team, as this is pushed into the offside towards backward point, and there is no run. Honestly, it's like heading down to. No, you won't be tempting me. Thank you very much, James. It's like heading down to, what's that beach in LA?
Santa Monica?
No, you know the one where all of the...
Venice.
Venice Beach.
Yeah.
That's very much like the Test match special team, I always think.
Yeah.
It's just a sort of sea of athletic perfection.
Yeah, I'm glad to feel like I'm adding to that.
And Foster's trying to undermine it. This is pushed into the offside, just nudged away towards the tall figure of Alex Hales, creeping in for extra cover. 34 for 3, 176 needed from 87, which means that the required rate stands at over 12 and over now.
It looks very difficult for Pakistan, but from England it's been absolutely outstanding. No drop in intensity with those early wickets, no complacency at all, aggressive in the field and aggressive with the ball in hand as well. They want to close this job out as clinically as they can, as clinical as they were in the 6th match of the series.
Willie bowls, full delivery to the left-handed Shan Masood, clipping towards the mulleted figure of Toplit mid-on. And there is 1 run taken, 35 for 3. If you want to get in touch with us, tms@bbc.co.uk is the way to do so. You can use the hashtag BBC Cricket. Maybe some thoughts reflecting on this series. What's impressed you? Who do you think should be in both sides' 11s when it comes to the start of that World Cup? Maybe you should let us know what you're up to this Sunday afternoon. Here comes David Willey to bowl to Kushdil. It's chipped in the air, could be a chance. No, it lands safely and goes dribbling out towards Ben Duckett at deep backward square. Just for a moment, Shan Masood would have been nervy.
Yeah, they're going at just over a run a ball at the moment, Pakistan. That required rate up over 12s. We're still in the power play. Loads of nervous faces in the Pakistan dugout as well. A lot of appreciation for the way England have performed here, though. Big stage, big match, lots of hype, huge crowd, the most number of people that have ever attended a match at the Gaddafi Stadium.
Willie bustling in once more. Past the umpire, drilled into the ground towards the fielder at mid-off. Throw comes in. Oh, goodness, what a good throw that is from Curran. Demolishes middle stump. Almost sounded like it snapped it in half. There's not going to be, I don't think, the need to go upstairs, but that is a fabulous piece of fielding. They are going to check.
We have an umpire referee for run out. Can I have your sideline angle, please?
It's the voice of Rashid Riaz. Decision pending, tells the big screen. He's well hurt
Get
by
grounded
a couple of feet.
before the bail's off. Ready to make my decision.
So it won't be out, but it will be satisfying for Sam Curran to have hit the stumps. Nothing else.
It will indeed. There's been a few sort of shies and misses from the England infielders. That's the only, if you were nitpicking, that's the only part of their performance you could really look at. But the power play has been all England. 3 huge wickets, the big 2 gone. Very much in control of this game. Run asking rate above 12. It's been all England so far in Lahore.
Adil Rashid into the attack, so the leg spin of Rashid, who's not had quite as effective a tour as maybe we would have expected on these conditions. Just the 4 wickets, economy rate of over 8.5 as well, but he has bowled more overs than anyone else. And still a crucial part of this England bowling lineup. He tosses the ball from one hand to the other as we say hello to James once again. Altiv's going to have a little bit of a break. We're out of the power play now. 37 for 3 is the score. Immediately Rashid with those extra fielders out. 3 on the leg side in the deep. We wait for Shan Masood to face the delivery from Adil Rashid, who's in now, bowled on the pads. He's rather got away with that because it was a bit leg side-ish. And a dot ball to start the 7th over. What have you made of the start of this innings then, James?
Well, it's been one-sided, that is for sure. England all over Pakistan for these first 6 overs during this power play. An opportunity, Pakistan team to get ahead of the rate. Just hasn't been the case so far.
Rashid in again, deep in the crease. Shan whips that ball out towards Duckett at deep mid-wicket. And a single is taken. I'm surprised they didn't get back for a second there, but it is just a 1 run. 38 for 3 is the score.
And also just shows the power of getting early wickets in the power play. Is just gets you ahead of the game, especially chasing over 200.
Thrashed away out towards deep cover point. Chris Wokes back in the England side today, fields. And there's a single added.
In all the meetings you generally have, bowlers meetings, you've always talked about trying to take wickets early in the power play. It's the best way to slow the opposition's run rate up.
Rashid once more. To bowl. At the googly, almost does for Shan Masood as he looked to hammer that ball into the leg side. It's a bottom edge and it drops into the gloves of Phil Salt on the bounce. Still to bat for Pakistan. It's a middle order that's not really fired in this series. Asif Ali, Mohammad Nawaz, Shadab Khan. Ooh, hugely dangerous cricketers. Shah deep in the crease will pick up 1 more. Whipped out towards the ever busy Duckett. And the score moves to 40 for 3. There's plenty of ways to get in touch, as I mentioned. TMS at bbc.co.uk, hashtag BBC Cricket as well on the social media. Alex has been in touch on Twitter. We wait for Adil Rashid to move in once more over the wicket. This is whipped into the leg side once more. They're just dealing in singles from the bowling of Rashid so far. And the equation stands at 169 to win from just 78 balls. 4 runs from that over, 41 for 3. So Alex says, I thought 7 matches was a bit much at the start of this series, but it's been great. Very glad England have been there. Looks like a great vibe in the stadium, and the tests should be quality. Well, the tests come at the back end of the year in December, and we will have every ball of it available to listen to on Test Match Special. Can't wait to bring it to you as well, because it is an occasion that I think people have been counting down to pretty much since the last time England were in Pakistan for Test matches in 2005. So really excited to see how that all goes later on in the year. But between now and then, loads of cricket to come. All the white ball cricket between now and then. Moeen Ali's into the attack. Didn't get a bat today. He's going to have a bowl. Moeen, somebody that big conversations about his return to Test match cricket.
Well, it's been mentioned early on when Brendan came on board as Test coach.
Moeen drops it a little bit short, and he still just nudges into the leg side. The cry of "my end" comes from Phil Salt, but they have got back for 2 runs, 43 for 3.
And interestingly, Mo's come out publicly quite a few months ago when Brendan came on board and mentioned about his interest in getting back into the Test squad if required, if they feel that there's a role for him. Which you would have thought with the Pakistan tour fast approaching, that you would have thought he'd be on that trip.
Moeen Ali round the wicket, bowling to Kushtil. He thought about winding up for a big launch, decides against it. Richard in Sheffield says, listening to you with a glass of 3. He says a glass of 3 of Merlot, and I think the reason he says a glass of 3 of Merlot might be because of the 3. This is worked into the leg side towards fine leg. Single is taken, and the score moves to 44 for 3. A glass of 3 of Merlot, a nice view over southwest Sheffield. Richard, lovely to have you with us. And thank you to Paul as well in Chippenham. Says, thank you for the coverage. The family have all loved it whilst walking, watching the games on the TV and recovering from COVID jabs. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, Richard, for joining us. Moeen Ali round the wicket, hit into the leg side. Has this found the gap? No. Duckett ever present on the leg side boundary to pick up. 1 run, 45 for 3.
You're going to have to make a move with the Pakistan team here. You heard Phil Salt on the stump mic saying, come on lads, just try and get it up to 15 and over. They're really going to have to put their foot
Owen bowls, clip back towards the bowler who does well. The England captain diving to his left to pick up, and there is no run.
To get their foot on the accelerator pretty soon. It's good to see Mo having a bit of a bowl here. Hasn't bowled much over the last couple of innings, the last couple of games.
Moeen drops it a little shorter this time, punched to the left of the fielder extra cover, and the giant figure of Reece Topley runs around to pick up. Over concludes. Required rate stands at 13.67. 46 for 3 is the score. England on course for a memorable series win at the end of a memorable series. Where do you think, in terms of learnings from this series, where do you think the big area of this England T20 side, where have they learnt the most, do you think?
Well, I think one of the big learnings has been the bench strength. I mean, you've got guys who haven't played a massive amount of cricket in their T20 side, like Duckett and Brook. Bear in mind, Ben's not even on the tour of the World Cup squad to Australia.
Rashid continuing, reverse sweep, beautifully played, out towards deep backward point where Wokes will run round to pick up. Just a single for that shot from Kushdil, 47 for 3.
There's been some good exposure for Gleeson. I know he's a travelling reserve for the World Cup squad. And then Liam Dawson's had a couple of games as well, but that middle order, which can be such a difficult role to play in any T20 franchise side or international side, we've got a couple of new guys here coming in, and looks like they've been playing the game for England all the time.
This is on the pads of Sham Masood as he scampered down the track and tried to work it into the leg side, looped up towards short fine leg. They run through for a leg by, 48 for 3.
Yeah, those two middle order batters really looked at home. Seen the Dill's last ball there, taking a pad, taking a foot to Phil Salt.
21 balls it's been since the last boundary. This is dropped short. This is a chance for 4 runs. Clubbed towards wide long on, but David Willey is there and will pick up. 49 for 3 is the score.
Seen so far predominantly Adil Rashid bowling his googlies to the 2 left-handers. Probably hence the reason Mo came on last over. No, he hasn't bowled much, but again you've got 2 left-handed batters in, so a nice option.
In the air, into the leg side. This could be 6 runs. It could be out. It's 6. David Willey running around, couldn't get there. The ball rolls away towards the scoreboard, and Adil Rashid shakes his head with frustration for the 72nd time in this series. 6 runs scored. Wasn't perfectly timed, but he got enough of it.
No, he's done well there. He's actually hit the ground first before making contact. It can often make the bat spin, therefore not getting the right contact that you want onto the ball. A much needed boundary, much needed 6 for this Pakistan side at the moment, chasing this mammoth total from England.
155 needed from 68. Rashid bowling deep in the crease is Shan, clipping that ball out towards deep mid-wicket. That's going to yield 2 runs. Duckett running round in front of the bottom tier of a stand. You can see it is absolutely packed. There are some illuminated by the floodlights and some in the shadows of that top tier. And all you can see is the occasional flash of a mobile phone camera. You can be absolutely certain that every seat in there is taken. As Rashid bowls, again looking hard into that leg side is Sham Masood. He'll just find a single. No, they're going to push hard for the second. They sort of have to as well. The wayward throw will allow 2 to be taken. The 9th over concludes, 59 for 3, 151 needed from 66 deliveries. Jim in Pantigo in Wales says, "Good evening, fellows. Enjoying the coverage. Been a great series. Kicking back with a glass of Shiraz, making sure I look and feel my best at work tomorrow." Lovely to have you with us, Jim. Shannon, Fred as well, thank you very much for getting in touch. Shannon asks us a question as well. Chuck this your way. Does a no ball count in the number of deliveries faced by a batter?
Good question.
Do you know, I've only thrown that your way because I was like, does it? I
think it probably does.
I think it does. Yeah. I think it does, because
you can still hit it for 4 or 6.
You can still get runs off it. Yeah. And so it will do. If they hit a 6 off the no ball and then another 6 off the free hit, does that effectively count as 12 off 1 ball? When they're going for the fastest 50, is the no ball counted as part of it. It is, I'm certain of it. But I'm glad that you looked as unsure as I felt.
I had to just think that through there in my very small sized brain to see if I could work that one out. But yeah, I think we've got that right.
I think we've got there between us. Shannon, who says she's sitting at home sewing and looking forward to an England victory. Well, looks that way at the moment. Here comes Sam Curran, left arm over, and worked behind square to short third, and Adil Rashid who picks up, but there'll be no run there, straight to the fielder inside the circle. Charlie says, what a great finish to a great series, loving it. How better to wrap up a weekend. Steve's out walking the dogs, a couple of Labradors. Kushil on strike, waiting for Sam Curran, who's running in now. Left arm over, it's paddled really, it's a sort of smash shot, if you like, out towards Duckett at mid-wicket. One run is taken. 60 for 3 is the score. Here we go. Al says, loving the commentary, listening in the dressing room before a 2 pianos gig in Scunthorpe. So you just never know what people are up to. What a series, says Al. Sam Curran turns at the end of his mark. Bleached blonde hair on top. It's the back and sides are sort of starting to grow through with his natural colour. He's running in now, bounding past the umpire. Worked into the leg side again. One run taken, it'll just be the single. They can't find the boundaries with any sort of consistency here, Pakistan. And at 149 needed from 63, it's hard to see how they're going to find a position to even give themselves a chance in the back end of this game.
Yeah. Sam's starting exceptionally well here. He's been mixing up his pace, his length straight away. It makes it very difficult for the batsman to get a read and a rhythm as to what he's going to do. I always think it's a sign of someone with real skill in their ability when they start their first ball, the spell, the slower ball, the back of the hand slower ball.
Here's Curran once more. Again, the leg side targeted. This is going to be 4. There is a boundary. It's a brilliant shot from Kushtil, advancing forward and almost like a Federer backhand, to use the tennis analogy once more. It's a brilliant piece of timing. 65 for 3 into the leg side.
Advance down the pitch. Sam Curran bowling a short ball, pace off. It's a beautiful strike that.
On one leg as well as he played it.
Yeah, backhand like it.
Very bottom hand dominant. In comes Curran. Chipped aerially, but there's no fielder inside the circle on the leg side bar that fine leg, and so it'll be an easy single out to the deep. Malcolm says, listening, having a quiet Sunday at home. Great series, though I'm still not sure if England knows their best team. This is a good question from Malcolm, because there has been a lot of chopping and changing. Looks like it's going to be a serious win. But are England any closer to knowing that 11?
Well, we listened to Josh saying at half-time, he did say about the conditions are going to be different out in Australia, so they're going to have to pick accordingly. Whereas obviously conditions over here are a lot different, slower, skiddier type of surfaces.
Curran bowls, leg side is targeted once again, and Duckett will pick up and throw with 2 runs taken. 68 for 3, 10 overs gone. I'm going to make way for Stefan Schemmelt, but yeah, interesting to know your thoughts on what Malcolm's saying here, because England, we know, have an enormous depth of talent, but you need to make sure you're picking the right blend of that talent pool.
Yeah, and it's one of those things you've got to make sure that your balance is right, and especially the balance in the conditions of Australia. And that's one of the real big strengths of this England side, is that you've got a lot of spin options, but you don't necessarily have to lose a seamer in return for bringing spin in. You're always going to play a Adil Rashid, one of the premier spinners in the world. Then you've got the likes of Mo and also Liam Livingstone. I'm pretty sure Liam will be coming back into the starting 11, would be my guess. And again, we've got lots of options with the ball, in addition with probably 3 frontline seamers and an all-rounder in the likes of, if it's Ben Stokes or Sam Curran.
What I'd like to see you do, James, just on that tablet, get yourself on the BBC Sport website, start doing your team selector. You can pick your 11.
We did this last time.
We did, yeah, but not with the selector in front of us. So that's been published today. You can go and pick your 11. No point having that tablet in front of you, you're not going to use it, is it?
It's all for show.
10 overs gone in the Pakistan chase. They're 68 for 3. They require a highly improbable 142 from the next 10 overs in order to deny England a series victory. England posted 209 for 3, underpinned by 78 not out from Dawid Malan and 46 not out from Harry Brook, and then a thrilling start to the Pakistan chase. Babar Azam just poking a catch to extra cover off Chris Wokes in the first over, gone for 4. Then Mohammad Rizwan off stump, splattered by Reece Topley in the next over. He was gone for 1. That's the big 2. 5 for 2 Pakistan were after 8 deliveries. Barely recovered. Iftikhar Ahmed, he got an edge off David Willey, caught by Phil Salt for 19. Shan Masood remains on 27 off 20. Kushdil Shah 16 in even time. 68 for 3 Pakistan. 142 runs from 60 deliveries is the tallest of orders. I feel like I've lost you now, James Foster.
Mate, I'm trying to get this. Sorry, I'm trying to get this website up, but at the moment I've still got. I'm looking at taps at the moment for the house extension, and I can't. It's not loading.
Do you need a younger person to come and explain how to use the technology? You're not the sort of person who tries to make a phone call with the remote control, are you?
Charlotte, need some support from you.
Well, James is working that out. I can tell you that the next live cricket you'll hear on the BBC will be next Sunday morning, 9:10. England play Australia in the first of 3 T20 internationals. Their preparations continuing for the T20 World Cup. That tournament gets underway on the 16th of October. Every ball of every game live on Test Match Special. If you need a reminder about how that tournament works, there's an initial group phase. 8 teams split into 2 groups of 4. One of those groups includes Ireland and Scotland. And from that first phase, 4 teams go through to the next phase of the tournament, the Super 12. And that is where England and the rest of the big boys will be waiting. Drinks break complete. Adil Rashid ball in hand. No wicket for 16 for him from his 2 overs, the leg spinner. And he's bowling to the left-handed Kushdil. And on the off stump, Kushdil pushes up towards long off for a single. Pakistan go on to 69 for 3, 141 required from 59 deliveries.
Pakistan are going to have to take some risks here. Kushdil at the moment 17 off 17. Team requiring over 14s. Play is going to have to be made by the Pakistan batting unit.
Rashid creeps in. Shan Masood down the pitch, belts the ball back at Rashid, who does unintentionally stops the ball with his feet. I think he might have been trying to get out of the way of it. It was hit so hard. It's a dot ball. Now this is Yorkshire to Yorkshire, isn't it? Shan Masood is going to be the Yorkshire captain next year. I don't know if he's going to be captain in all formats. I haven't quite seen that, but Adil Rashid, still a white ball player for Yorkshire. It's down the leg side. Sweep from Shan Masood. Out towards deep backward square leg just for a single. Goes on to 28. Does Masood. 70 for 3 Pakistan. Of course had an excellent blast campaign for Derbyshire. Did Shan Masood this year. It's what really propelled him back into the international picture. Midway through the 11th, Pakistan 70 for 3, targets 210. That's the Rashid Googly, which has completely foxed Kushdil, who was advancing down the pitch, trying to work into the onside. He had to check his stroke and defend the ball back to the bowler, as we see a shot of a massive oil can. I'm going to miss the oversized advertisements on the boundary edge when the series is over. Kushdil chips the ball almost back to Rashid, who tumbles and does the fielding in his follow-through. There was almost a chance of a catch. I think the Lahore crowd are actually enjoying seeing Adil Rashid bowl. They're chanting his name. Last ball of the 11th over. Rashid in on the angle. Kushdil down the track again. It's chipped towards mid-wicket, but there's no fielder there. Only a man on the boundary. It's Ben Duckett once more in the England hot zone, covering the yards. Single to finish the 11th. Pakistan are 71 for 3. 139 required of 54 deliveries. Not quite snookers yet, James Foster, but that equation is getting out of hand pretty quickly.
Yeah, this one I'm just surprised at the moment that there's no real massive urgency from the Pakistan batters here. You've got Kushdil as one of the most exciting strikers of a ball. Seen in PSLs of the last couple of years, he's so dangerous, so difficult to bowl to. But at the moment, he's only got 18 off 20. Fair play to Adil Rashid. He's bowled very intelligently to him. Mainly googlies to him and Shah Masood. Plus with the odd flat one out the front of the hand into the pitch.
Reece Topley with his left arm over, bowls to Kushdil, who heaves the ball into the onside. Duckett's there again. Single taken, 72 for 3. Pakistan. He's doing boundary to boundary, is Ben Duckett. He won't mind that.
Burn a few extra calories, wouldn't it? Good for the fitness testing. Normally have your strength and conditioning coach take the calipers around with you to make sure the fat marks around your bodies the fat percentages are low enough, so he'll be not too disappointed doing the extra yards. Doesn't look quite as hot today as there is in previous matches.
At this stage, England were 114 for 3. So Pakistan 42 runs behind that. Shah Masood gives himself some room. Hacks once more to Ben Duckett, who must feel like the only fielder in Lahore at the moment. One more added to the score, 73 for 3. If you want to get in touch with us, tms@bbc.co.uk. Kevin says, I'm lying on the sofa with a glass of beer recovering from cataract surgery, so radio commentary is just what the doctor ordered. The Grand Prix followed by Test match special is bliss. Kushdil on strike. Wonderfully manicured facial hair. Topley, bearded himself, gets driven. Back past the bowler in the follow through. Topley stuck out a right hand, but it's gone up towards long off for one more. Pakistan 74 for 3. Justin says, I'm sat in my camper van deep in a beautiful forest in the southern Massif Central in France, watching a spectacular sunset develop, listening to a cricket match in a stadium that is clearly rocking. And this is one that's going to make you really jealous in a minute, James. As Topley is in, his hair bobbing. Ball hits Shahn's pads and rolls towards point. They take a leg by Pakistan. It's doing them no good whatsoever. 75 for 3. 2 deliveries of the 12th to go. Edward says, hugely enjoying the TMS commentary this evening, all the way from the Seychelles, as I sip on a G&T prior to another day of teaching at the international school tomorrow, plus taking on the national team at cricket prior to their T20 World Cup qualifier in Rwanda next month. Topley bowls full outside the off stump, Yorker length. Kushdil can only dig it out behind square just for 1. 76 to 3 Pakistan. They need 134 off 49. I think we're at the stage where we can pretty much write that one off.
Yeah, I quite like that last comment about the G&T.
In the Seychelles.
Yeah, doesn't sound like the worst place to be. Worst scenario.
Topley's a huge hulking figure. His red shirt rides high up the biceps and reveals the sleeve tattoo. He's got 1 for 21. This is the last ball of his 3rd over. He's been excellent throughout the series, Reece Topley. Man you'll know well. James Foster. That's a short ball. This is edged past the wicketkeeper over what would have been about 3rd slip, I reckon. Very fine for 4. Pakistan 80 for 3, 12 gone. They need 130 off 48. But James, from your time with Reece Topley at Essex, he really has been through the ringer, hasn't he? And to see him back performing so well for England is great to see.
Yeah, he has. He's had some really tough years. He burst onto the scene with us as a 17-year-old. Looked a standout then, standout performer. He's moved around to a couple of counties, had a few major problems in particular with his back. But to get through that, and now predominantly playing white ball cricket, although he still plays the odd championship game for Surrey. You know, it's an absolute testament to his dedication to get through those big injuries.
Adil Rashid continues. He's swept mightily by Kushdil for 6. Down on one knee, over cow corner. Pakistan need a few more of those if they are to get back into this game. 86 for 3. Reece Topley, he was part of the squad, England squad, for the last T20 World Cup last year. And he also played at the 2016 T20 World Cup when England got to the final. But if you told him at that time what would happen in the intervening 5 years, when his career was almost finished by a number of back injuries. Rashid tries again, it's down the leg side. There's an appeal from Phil Salt, and he wants a review straight away. In fact, it's been given by the umpire. That could be a wonderful catch from Salt if it's confirmed. Excellent footwork by the keeper to get across. I don't know if it's just been tickled off the face of the bat by Kushdil. Not the greatest delivery from Rashid. On leg stump, turning down the leg side, and Kushdil's followed it. And Salt has crabbed across, taken the catch, appealed. Umpire's given it. England were going to review it. Then when the on-field umpire gave it out, Asif Yaqub.
Can I have a spin
Now,
wheel, please?
Kushdil himself has called for the review. So Rashid Riaz, the TV umpire, springs into action. James Foster, who better to describe this than one of the game's finest wicket keepers?
Ball is close to the bat. Let's confirm with the ultra edge.
Let's find out if there's an edge first. Lovely bit of work there from Phil Salt, skipping down the leg side.
Keep rolling, keep rolling.
Oh, there's a little bit on ultra edge, just a tiny spike.
Now roll forward.
And that will confirm a serious piece of glove work and footwork from Phil Salt to get rid of Kushdil Shah for 27. And Pakistan are 86 for 4. Adil Rashid is burgled one there.
Yeah, lovely bit of wicket keeping from Phil Salt. Very smartly bowled it a little bit down leg side. What made this possible for Phil is that he didn't go too early down leg side. He got as much information as he could of being offside of the batsman. You get to see the ball pitch, then you have to move, so you move late, but you move really quick. He went right into the middle of his hand. So an excellent bit of work for Phil Salt. That's going to make him feel really good about his wicket keeping. He's had a couple of good days with the bat last couple of matches. And that really, bearing in mind, someone like Phil Salt has only got into wicket keeping, I think, back in 2018. He made a deliberate choice. He was playing for Sussex at the time, playing just as the batter, and he felt to put another string to his bow. I remember around about 2018, I'd just finished playing myself. I was chatting to him about it, and he just felt, well, why not? And so all this hard work he's put in over the last 4 or 5 years. Now he's in the England side. Yes, I know Joss isn't playing at the moment because he's injured. But it's testament to the hard work that he's put into his game, working at Sussex and then been working at Lancashire, his new county. It's really good to see.
There's 2 things to raise about what you've just said there, James. I know you're not going to say it, but you are. You are one of the finest wicket keepers this country's ever produced. As Asif Ali is the new man defending Adil Rashid. When did you retire?
2018.
2018, so 4 years ago, and it was you and Chris Reed, wasn't it? Going the 2 premier glove men in county cricket for so long together. But from Phil Salt's point of view, as Rashid bowls, that's a wonderful leg break from Adil Rashid. That's ripped across Asif Ali. That's turned him into an S. So he's followed that, and Salt takes the ball. Jos Buttler didn't keep during the 100, and you've said to me before how difficult it is to be a wicket-keeper captain in T20 cricket because it's just so quick. So if Buttler decides he doesn't want to keep in the T20 World Cup and he doesn't keep in the IPL, as Rashid ball, has a big appeal for LBW. Has Asif Ali picked the googly? Don't think he has. Umpire says no. It might have spun too much, and Rashid says, yeah, that's heading down the leg side, but he's completely befuddled Asif Ali there. If Jos Buttler decides he doesn't want to keep in the T20 World Cup, then Salt immediately has an edge on Alex Hales in that battle for the final opener spot. And secondly, I'll ask you this because there's one ball of the over to come, and you can answer between overs. As Rashid bowls again to Asif Ali, just a conventional leg break that's punched towards point, there's no run. Pakistan are 86 for 4, they're going nowhere. The target is 210. At some point soon, England are going to be confirmed as the winners of this 7th match and the 7th match series. You say that Phil Salt basically converted himself into a wicketkeeper. Now, you're a specialist. How difficult is it for a batter who, I'm sure Phil Salt had fine hands and was a fine fielder anyway, Is it hard? Do you think as a wicket-keeping coach you could take a lot of cricketers and turn them into wicket-keepers, or is it actually a really, really difficult thing to do and not everyone can do it?
It's a difficult thing to do, but if you're willing to put in the hard work, yes, it helps if you've got an ability to move, an ability to catch. But even if you do have that ability, you still have to work very hard to be any good at wicket-keeping, to have a career in the game. So if someone decides to go down that route, it's an absolute smart decision to do.
New over from Sam Curran. It hits Shan Masood on the pad as he was trying to swing the ball into the leg side. Ball goes nowhere, dot ball. Is there a difference between you could teach most people to stand back and it's the standing up that's the real test?
Well, it's just the volume of doing it, in my opinion. I mean, when we would have been young and growing up and wanting to keep wicket, you're not born and suddenly, I'm a wicket keeper. You have an interest and you're excited about doing that role. And then the more and more you do it, the more balls you catch, the more balls that you practice, you're going to naturally get better and better.
Curran's got 58 on his back, bleach blonde hair, down the leg side again to Shan Masood. I think that'll be called wide. It is. Pakistan 86 for 4, 87 for 4. Target's 210. We're in the 14th over. Because there's only one wicket-keeping spot in a team. Most people get the chance to bat. 4 or 5, 6 people get the chance to bowl. It's only one wicket-keeper.
Yeah, it's a tough job, and it's one of those where, especially if someone like Phil, who wasn't bowling, why wouldn't you try and give you another string to your bow?
Curran's in, short ball, slower, shorter ball that Shan Masood pats on the head out towards deep mid-wicket. There's another man who can keep wicket, Ben Duckett. Hasn't been doing it so much lately.
So it's the sort of thing, sorry, just jump in, is that especially with franchise cricket as well, when you pick a squad with 15 or 16 in your squad, normally it's that you'll always need a backup keeper. So even then, someone who has experience of wicket keeping, you'll often get a nod because you have the ability to keep wicket if your your first choice keeper gets injured.
88 for 4. And we see a plethora of these young batters in the English game, actually, who can take the gloves. Curran bowls to Asif Ali, who's finally off the mark from his fifth delivery with a punch into the covers for a single. 89 for 4. We've got Salt and Duckett and Tom Banton.
Yeah, you've got Joe Clark, who pretty sure he doesn't keep for Notts, but he keeps for Melbourne Stars when he's in Big Bash. He keeps in the 100 as well for Cardiff. So it's an absolute smart play to do. But again, I'll stress, it's a smart play, but as long as you're wanting to do it, as long as you're wanting to get better. Because it's a tough job, and if things go quite tough from a keeping point of view, you've got to have the mental strength to get through those.
Curran is scurrying in. Masood gives himself some room outside the leg stump, but it's hit him high on the back thigh. Ball trickles to point. Pakistan run a leg by. It's death by 1,000 cuts really here for Pakistan. They're getting nowhere near this England target of 210, 90 for 4. But is that James Foster the coach talking? Would James Foster the player, who was the gloveman that you were and would have probably had a longer international test career had England had a genuine all-rounder at the time, would you have been telling these batters, go away, stop trying to keep wicket, you leave it to the specialists?
Well, interesting, you generally see these guys normally have a role in the white ball format rather than the test format.
Full delivery from Curran, full toss, low full toss, driven by Asif Ali up towards long off, just for a single. 91 for 4, because it was your specialism that got you into the team for the T20 World Cup in 2009, wasn't it, that was held in England?
Yeah, that's true. I think that was one of the reasons why I was selected for that World Cup. But just to go back on, often a lot of these guys who see it's an opportunity into franchise cricket or into a white ball side, because it's sometimes so difficult to get into them because there's so many good players out there. If you see someone like Phil, who's also doing it in the championship side for Lancashire, so he's really made a total commitment where he's all in.
Curran to complete the over, another low full toss, but Shan Masood could only hack the ball off an inside edge to fine leg. End of the 14th over, Pakistan are 92 for 4. They're going to get nowhere near that England target of 210, and England are going to win the trophy that's just popped up on our screen. And to link it back to what you and I were talking about during the interval, James, about England under Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum. Ben Stokes has been unequivocal in his backing of Ben Foakes. He has said, I think you are the best wicketkeeper in the world. And we know that England maybe could have gone for, given the gloves to say, Johnny Bairstow. I know Bairstow's had to find some with the bat, but they could have said, look, you bat at number 7 and you keep, or they could have stuck with Joss Buttler. But no, Ben Stokes said, I want the best wicketkeeper, and Ben Foakes has not only responded with performances with the gloves, but also with the bat as well.
Yeah, he's had an exceptional summer, has Ben. I mean, it's a joy to watch with the gloves, it really is. But it's been interesting for him because it's a new role for him batting at number 7. For Surrey, he bats maybe more 4 or 5, has the opportunity to have longer innings, whereas 7, and at the time when this summer, you had your lower order with the England side, who you probably see, wasn't like the likes of Chris Woakes and real strong all-round batting at 8. So you could say that maybe their tail was slightly longer.
Here is Chris Woakes bowling the 15th over. Shan Masood hacks the ball into the offside. Pakistan, boundaries an endangered species for them at the moment, just a single. Shan has 36 off 30 balls. Asif Ali, who's about to take strike, 2 off 6.
So he had to have a bit more of a dynamic role at batting at 7, whereas normally when he bats for Surrey, he'll just bat, accumulate and play. Whereas this year for the England side, he's had to go more on the offensive. So he's had to learn that trade whilst playing the highest form of the game, which is a very difficult thing to do, but something which I think he's come through and done so well for the England side.
Pakistan need 117 from 35 deliveries. If they pull it off, it'd be extraordinary. Now there's a high full toss actually from Chris Woakes that's helped round the corner by Asif Ali for 4. It's one of those, if you're fielding at short fine leg, you might see your life flash before your eyes, because Asif Ali had helped that round the corner at pace. Pakistan 97 for 4, and we've also been joined by Atif Nawaz.
Yeah, it was a terrific shot there, just waist high full toss, and Chris Woakes can smile about it as he walks back to his mark with the game more or less wrapped up by England. Barring something absolutely miraculous here from Pakistan. The crowd gets something to cheer about, but it's been very, very clinical from England for the most part in this game. And Pakistan have always really just been a step behind.
The 97 for 4, Pakistan. Drop catches hurt them as well earlier on in the evening. They dropped 3 in total. As Woakes bowls to Asif Ali, this is a heave out towards cow corner. But England have a man there, and Pakistan can only trot through for 1. They're 98 for 4 midway through the 15th. Woakes has figures of 1 for 18, incredibly respectable in the short form of the game, and the 1 was Babar Azam in the first over. Just a little pat of a catch to short extra cover to Harry Brook. Babar gone for 4 in the next over. Mohammad Rizwan bowled for 1, and that was basically, you felt, chase over at 5 for 2. Iftikhar Ahmed 19, Kushdil Shah 27, the other 2 wickets to fall. Pakistan finding themselves 98 for 4 midway through the 15th. The left-handed Shan on strike outside the off stump from Woakes, a slower ball. It's slapped to Moeen Ali, the stand-in England captain, at extra cover. They take a single, 99 for 4. What a proud moment it's going to be for Moeen as well, to lead England to a series victory in the country where his family hails from.
Absolutely, he's got to captain all the games in the end, and he's been such a wonderful ambassador for England over the years in so many different ways. So for him to get this moment as a captain, to win a series abroad, as you say, in the country of his sort of heritage, it's going to be very, very proud for him. He gets a lot of love in Pakistan as well. Another one who spent a lot of time playing in the Pakistan Super League as well.
Woakes bowls to Asif Ali. Now this is pulled high into the sky as a fielder underneath it should take the catch. Reece Topley with the bucket hands does just that. Easy as you like. Asif Ali goes for 7. It's a 5th wicket to fall. Pakistan are 99 for 5. And this game and this series is heading the way of England.
Yeah, absolutely it is. Just looking to play that over that square leg boundary to really pick up on the pace of the delivery. It's slightly slower, and he gets the toe end of the bat onto it as well, Asif Ali, so it doesn't get the distance on it, and a reasonably comfortable catch for Reece Topley just in front of square leg, deep in the boundary. Double fist pump from Chris Woakes, the kind you see from a tennis player at a Grand Slam when they get to match point. They haven't taken match point, they get to match point. It's that level of belief from Chris Woakes.
Bar David Willey making the hash of a caught and bowled. earlier on, James Foster. That has been a little bit of a difference as well. Now, that was a simple chance to Reece Topley that you'd expect him to take with his eyes closed, but so were the 3 catches that Pakistan dropped.
Yeah, it's been chalk and cheese, the fielding, and also the ground fielding as well. I thought Pakistan were poor in that department, which is something which no doubt they will discuss after this series, in particular after today's game. I know the England team worked exceptionally hard in their fielding. I'm not saying that Pakistan don't, but ultimately your fielding is such a big part in either setting or defending scores, in trying to win the game. And also it's the confidence it gives bowlers. So occasionally if a bowler bowls a loose ball and it sort of deserves maybe to go for 4, but a fielder does an excellent stop, it just gives you that sort of, I've got away with one, and it gives you that where if that goes for 4, then the pressure's immediately on you as a bowling unit, especially when you start overs. They always talk about you want to start an over well and finish an over well. But then if there's a poor bit of fielding, it really does make a big difference. Or if there's an excellent bit of fielding, it makes a big difference.
Left-handed Mohammad Nawaz is the new man, and he's on strike because it's the 1st of October,
yes,
and the laws of the game have changed today. Earlier on in the series he'd be at the non-strikers end. Now he's facing up to Chris Wokes, and he's immediately underway with a push through the covers for 1. 15 overs gone in this chase. Pakistan are 100 for 5. There we are, we've seen a little bit of history. It probably happened earlier on tonight, we just didn't clock it that the new batter was on strike, but it certainly has happened then. What a time to be alive. Pakistan are 100 for 5. They need another 110 runs to beat England and to take this 7th match of this T20 series. Not going to happen. At some point later on, England are going to get their hands on the trophy, and they've been good value for it, haven't they, James Foster? Henry Moran's going to talk us through the last 5 overs of this series.
Yep, England have been exceptional today, really clinical. It's interesting how when Pakistan are gone after the England bowlers, they've really used their changes of pace really well. Just see there, Chris Wokes bowling a slow ball, which got that wicket, and then I think his first ball to Nawaz was a slow ball, and his style of slow ball is that he generally puts the ball deep into his hand. So he bowls the ball with his arm pace is exactly the same. There's no different, like fingers cutting over, but the ball just floats out that tiny bit slower.
Here comes David Willey. Hit in the air into the leg side. Can a fielder get there? No, it'll drop 3 or 4 yards short of Ben Duckett at deep mid-wicket. And the score, 101 for 5. Required rate stands at 22. Go on.
I was going to say that last delivery is an example of something England have executed a lot better than Pakistan. Just the pace off shorter balls. Pakistan have attempted to execute them, but not had as much success as the England bowlers have. It's something that obviously they've benefited from a lot, having done that in domestic cricket here in England, in the Blast, in the 100. Just that need to bowl economically at the death.
Flogged into the leg side along the ground without really much timing, and a single is taken. It never ceases to amaze me, a bit like all the varieties Shane Warne would say ahead of an Ashes series, you better look out this time, I've got X, Y or Z delivery that's going to cause havoc. I mean, to be honest, Shane, you could have, the way that things were going at that era, you could have been bowling just what you were doing the rest of the time and it would have a reasonable effect, but continue that point in a moment as David Willey runs in. Nawaz waiting, swinging and missing as the pace is taken off the ball, helpfully segueing into my question. And it's all these varieties of ways to bowl slower ball. I've not heard of the deep in the palm of the hand. Well, I mean, there's so many ways of doing it.
Yeah, there are, and it's the sort of thing which I love about cricket and cricketers in general is that their ability to experiment and also to learn from other sports. You've seen the likes of Benny Howell over the years play a little bit with those knuckleballs, and seen over the last sort of 5 years how the knuckleballs become a huge part of a bowler's armoury.
Nawaz is on 2, tries to pull the ball into the leg side, runs through for a single as it drops away towards Gully.
And with that slow ball, you saw Wokes when he got Babar out, I think it might have been the 4th ball that he bowled. His previous delivery, his arm speed is exactly the same, and also then bearing in mind he's got a new ball in his hand, so he bowls exactly the same ball, but the ball's deep into his grip, into his hand, so you can't get as much flick on and backspin onto the ball. So if it comes out slower, but you can still get it to swing, which is even more deception.
This is wide, outside the off stump, thrashed away in the air. Can a fielder get round? No. David Milan has now got work to do to try and stop that ball as it picks up pace off the surface out towards deep backward point. He does pretty well to get there. Shan moves to 40 with a couple of runs, 105 for 5. But that sounds like how would you ensure the length was right when you're bowling a ball that's suddenly deep in that? See, now this is what we like to see. For those that can't see James, which would be every single person apart from me and Atif. So it is a reasonably small audience. He's picked up one of the fluffy things you put on top of a microphone. We're going to get a demonstration, which I'll do my best to talk through. David Willey again. Shan is bowling, is waiting and pulling that ball into the leg side. It'll be just a 1 run taken. And in fact, they'll get back for 2. So the over concludes 107 for 5. The required rate 25.75. So England will win this game. We've got 4 overs left. Go on, James.
Well, no, it's just that normally the bowl. I mean, who am I to talk about how to bowl a ball? Actually, I have bowled a few overs in first class cricket. But anyway, you normally have the ball in your towards the end of your fingertips with maybe like a little gap before it hits the your palm of your hand. So my understanding of the Wokesy, he'll stick it right back into that palm, still with the same holding up the same main fingers, the 2 fingers, and his 3rd finger just sort of supporting the side. But as a result, you can't get as much pace onto the ball, so it comes out slower. So everything about the ball looks exactly the same. The ball will be seam up, it's not scrambled seam or anything like that to give any indication. And then with a new ball, the fact you can still get it to swing makes it even tougher. You saw Bubba there.
Reece Topley bowls full Yorker outside the off stump through to Phil Salt.
You saw Bubba there almost look perplexed when he was out. He's like, what happened there? Was the wicket stop? Did it stop on the wicket? But it was just an excellent, well disguised slow ball.
Right, that does make sense because you're getting that backspin, that flick when the ball's up further of the way down the fingertips.
I think it's a ball that Paul Collingwood used to bowl quite a lot from memory. Who's involved around in England setup. And knows involved in just the Test side now, but he's been around for many years with the England boys.
107 for 5. Topley bowling. This is worked into the leg side from the bat of Nawaz. He's yet to really time one. Moves to 4 with a single. 108 for 5. It is a sort of constant race between batters and bowlers, isn't it? Who can outfox the other?
It's all about the art of deception. I was just thinking, like the reliance of being able to bowl that ball from your palm is so much about your anatomical gifts, because I was just thinking I've got reasonably small hands, so even if I hold the ball with my fingertips, it's still, part of it is still probably touching my palm. So you must be gifted. I'll look out for the next time I see Chris Wokes, shake his hand, see how big his mitts are and how much gap he can create.
Full again from Topley, driven out towards deep point where Wokes, it is waiting out there in the distance. And the same applies when it comes to spin bowling, finger spin bowling. Monty Panesar famously, very long fingers, able to really rip that ball with his left arm spin. And so, you have advantages, I suppose, don't you? It might be the fast twitch fibres, or it might be the length of your fingers or whatever.
It's just the scouting of that kind of thing. Like, when you've got your coaches there, like Derbyshire under 15s or whatever, saying, we've got this boy, he's got very long fingers. You want to be looking at this guy for your next off spinner.
Here comes Reece Topley, bounding in. That is going to be signalled wide, I fancy. It was just too far outside that off stump. And the equation now stands at 100 from 21, so I think we can all agree that does not feel particularly likely. So we see a replay of that Wokes dismissal, and it was barely slower, wasn't it? It really, and as you say, that sort of away shape.
Yeah. It's a subtle change, and sometimes I think linked into that, as you mentioned about the snap of the wrist. Some guys will deliberately won't get that snap on, so therefore you end up just bringing your fingers back down the back of the ball.
Topley drops it in a bit shorter, pulled into the ground out towards deep backwards square leg for a single. The score moves to 111 for 5.
And then that creates less revs and pace on the ball, which then creates a lovely slower ball. But it's the sort of thing where some bowlers will maybe try that and it doesn't work for them. They'll try other options. Actually, no, this one's a far better option for me. It's the same as a batter. You experiment where you want to try and hit the ball and try and learn and adapt and bring that into your game. But there'll be some things that suit your game and it'll be easier for you than the other players to try and execute.
Same way, I suppose, some players are better at the reverse sweep, say. This is a low full toss drilled towards a deep backward point where There is a good diving stop. I think that's Jordan Cox who's on the field.
Nice.
Single taken, 112 for 5.
Get some time on the outfield, but it did make me think of a point again with Pakistan. Their fielding has been such a long way behind England, particularly today. Their outfielding. Bear in mind that England got the worst of the conditions as well on the outfield with all the dew and the slipping and sliding and all that kind of stuff. And it just makes you think. I mean, the really positive impact that Steve Rickson had on the Pakistan side when he came in 2016 feels like, slightly undone recently.
Full delivery on middle stump, drilled down the ground. That's a nice piece of timing. It's going to bring 4 runs. David Willey gave up the chase quite early. A lot of bottom hand in the stroke, but it is an effective shot to conclude the 17th over. 116 for 5 is the score, and we suggested that maybe the time he hadn't quite been there from the Waz. Well, that one came right out of the middle, and 4 runs down the ground.
It's a lovely shot. One gets the feeling it's very much too little too late, but it is executed quite nicely. You do wonder what Pakistan are going to get from this now with 94 needed off 18. The game more or less gone. I mean, what do you, if you're a Pakistan fan, what do you want? You want them to swing every ball and try and, make this kind of have a go at doing something miraculous, or do you just kind of accept what you're doing and try and get to your milestones? I mean, Shahn's on 44 off 36. It's a kind of hopeless situation. It's not really the ending you want for a series like this. It's a bit of a damp squib, heavily one-sided, and almost a foregone conclusion at the 3 over mark. But it has been a really good series. The big picture of it is very important of the series, but in the short term, this will be a tough loss for Pakistan to take.
We'll be joining Rugby League commentary at the end of this game on 5 Sports Extra, but look out on the Test Match special stream on BBC Sounds for a podcast wrapping up this series, available for you later on this evening as Sam Curran comes in to bowl the 18th over. The ball is slashed away for 4. He almost takes out that robot camera at deep extra cover. And that was a nice shot. Well, if there is something to be gained from the back end of this game, a lovely lofted drive over the covers is probably a reasonable thing to take away.
Well, Shahn moves to 50 with that as well, but as you see, no celebration from him. I beg your pardon, he's still 2 runs short of his 50, but just even after hitting a really nice shot, there's just this look of resignation about him. It's still sort of mathematically possible for anybody out there who likes doing weird maths, but he just knows that they've just been so far behind today. It's hard to take really any positives.
It's not a great ball from Curran as he tries one of those variations, taking the pace off it. It goes dribbling down the leg side. And there is one more taken off the requirement that stands at 89 from 17. Dean emails tms@bbc.co.uk to say, joyous Sunday, glass of red whilst dinner cooks, sublime. As I'm listening, Roy's listening in the Algarve with 3 dogs. I wonder who's talking more sense, your companions or the radio companions. In comes Curran. Keeps a little bit low, but it's nicely timed. Out towards wide, long on, and Duckett running round will pick up. 2 runs taken. 87 from 16 required.
I tell you what, that might be the most enduring image of this tour for me. Ben Duckett sliding on the outfield, making an athletic stop.
He's had a really good tour, just quietly, James, hasn't he? He's been really impressive both in the field and with the bat.
Yeah, he's been stunning this whole campaign. He's been out of the England setup for a while. I know he got back into the Test match squad for the last Test of the summer, but didn't play. For him to come in has such a big impact on this series. It's great for him and great for England. There's going to be plenty of options if you think about their ODI side coming up soon, with the likes of Ben Stokes not playing anymore, with obviously Owen Morgan being a left-handed option.
Down the leg side, there's an appeal for a caught behind. It kept very low as it was flicked, or attempted to be flicked round the corner. Salt likes it. Curran is vaguely interested. Miles away from his pads, says Phil Salt. He wants the review. And Mo and Ali says, yeah, we'll go for that. We'll have a little look at it. Shan Masood on 50. With Pakistan standing. I'm so glad we finally reached the moment.
Director, we have a play review for
more in a moment.
Caught behind. Original decision is not out. I have checked front foot and it's a fair delivery. Can I have a front on spin vision, please?
Here comes the replay. Curran bowling. It's a full delivery. Let's see. Well,
ball is close to the bat. Let's confirm with Aldridge.
Well, it is miles away from the pad. Phil Salt was right on that. Rashid Riaz, TV umpire, is having a look. We will wait for Ultra Edge, which will give us the definitive information. Shan doesn't look particularly concerned. He is looking up at the big screen. Here comes Ultra Edge, which says nothing on it.
I can see a gap between bat and ball. Satisfied? No bat involved. You can go back to the on-field umpire, Asif. Asif, you can stay with your original decision. Not out. You are on screen now.
Oh, Asif Yaqub with a good decision there. 123 for 5 is the score. Midway through the 18th over, Shan is on 50. Well, Salt obviously heard something. It happens as a keeper.
Yeah, to be fair, you often think that everything is out as a keeper. You think, there's no it's out, got to be out. And if that's given not out in a county game, you're like, oh, the umpire, rubbish, what's he doing? Clearly he's not hit the ball.
Curran running in to vault to the left-handed Shan. Hits that ball firmly into the leg side and might pick up form though, because guess what? Ben Duckett's waiting there in the distance.
He has had a very good series. I mentioned earlier that he'll expect to be back in England colours. I mean, would you think he's definitely going to make it for that test team back to Pakistan? Or do you think his next assignment is likely to be in the 50-over format next year in the build-up to next year in India?
Well, he's got every chance of being on that Pakistan tour for the test tour. I mean, bearing in mind he came into the squad for that last test, you would have thought they will continue with that selection, plus his ability to play spin so well.
Curran bowling, hit aerially into the leg side. Fielder waiting, will take the catch. Chris Wokes with the safe hands. Rather grimaces as he stands up to pick up his footing once again, but it is another wicket. 125 for 6, 85 needed from 14. This game's done. And so it's now just about personal figures as opposed to match result. It was hit firmly into the leg side, aerially, and Wokes coming round takes a good low catch. That deep square leg. And more disappointment for the Pakistan supporters. As the wicket falls, Nawaz goes 9 from 9, caught by Wokes off the bowling of Sam Curran. 2 balls left of the 18th over.
Yeah, it's a good catch. Just held his nose. I think maybe just a little hamstring there, maybe a bit of cramp as well. He's been out there, still very, very hot out there in Lahore in those conditions. You see a few more empty seats in the Gaddafi Stadium. A lot of people have sort of left the stadium, but a lot have also hung around. I think a lot of them want to show their appreciation for that England team and the performances that they put in, and just the appreciation for them coming over to Pakistan, and they want to leave them with a nice lasting image of the country. As we know, they didn't really get to go out and about and see a lot of stuff. And a lot of the journalists that have been out there have been seeing a lot of stuff. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on my timeline about trips to restaurants and museums and carpet shops and all sorts of things. And be nice that if some stage the England team go over there, they get to sample some of that culture.
It's just brilliant seeing international cricket in Pakistan. It's for the world game, it is a fabulous thing. It really is. 85 needed from 14. Pakistan are 125 for 6. Sam Curran has just taken that 6th wicket to fall. And he's running in now. This is hit down the ground. Nicely struck. It could bring 4 runs, and it will. The dive from David Willey, which is a rather impressive dive as well, as he slides across the greasy outfield, is an unsuccessful dive. As Mohammad Wasim, right-hander, with a reasonable amount of bottom hand, it has to be said, smacked the ball past Curran, and also almost into the midriff of Asif Yaqub. But he did well to get out the way at the non-striker's end.
The umpires have taken the ball a few times, haven't they? We saw, was it?
It was Aleem Dar.
Aleem Dar, who took one in the backside in the previous game.
129 for 6, final ball of the 18th over. This is striking the pads and going down the leg side. And that will not yield anything. That's not close enough or far away enough from the keeper to allow for the leg by. 129 for 6. And with 2 overs left to score, required is 81 from 12 deliveries. Hello to Mike and Catherine, originally from Yorkshire, living in Grottoes, Virginia, USA. Well done, lads, and a special shout out for Harry Brook. So we go from Grottoes, USA to Dover Beach, Barbados, where Jane's listening. Could be worse. We've got Brian, who is renovating a kitchen in an old house in the Sudharz Nature Park in Germany. I mean, we've got everywhere this afternoon. It's been a wonderful tour.
Yeah, it's been a world tour in every sense of the word, hasn't it?
81 runs required from the final 2 overs. It's not going to happen. England are going to win this series, but what intrigue, interest are we going to see from the final 2 overs of what has been a brilliant series as Chris Woakes runs in and bowls a delivery which is hammered into the leg side. Out in the deep is David Willey at deep mid-wicket. And one more run is taken. 130 for 6. The score. Woakes' bearded figure walks back towards his mark. And Pakistan require 80 from 11 deliveries. The crowd rather thinning out, as you might expect. It's not quite been the grandstand finish. Really, the series has deserved because it's been so entertaining. It really has been.
Yeah, that man in pictures can be pretty chuffed, Joss Buttler. I know he hasn't played any cricket in this series, but obviously the England's captain, key leader, be delighted with their performance.
It's a delivery, a full toss onto the pads of Mohammad Wasim. It was not a great ball out from Woakes. Had it been a superior player, you think that probably would have been helped round the corner for at least 4 runs. In the end, it's a dot ball, 80 required from 10. The lights of Lahore shining brightly outside this stadium, which has been host for the final 3 matches of this 7-game series. Just the second time in cricket's history that there's been a bilateral series involving 7 T20 internationals. Woakes bowling again, leg side-ish, helped round the corner. Will a fielder get round at fine leg? Yep, Adil Rashid is there with the towel poking out the back of his trousers to pick up and throw. 79 needed from 9 deliveries. Thank you ever so much for listening, for following this series. We've really enjoyed bringing it to you, and I think it's fair to say, Atif, when we heard it was 7 matches, we did think, are we going to get a bit sort of fatigued by the repetition? Not a bit of it.
No, it helps when they play 18 and 17 players respectively.
Swing and a miss, slower ball from Woakes is thrashed at but goes through to Phil Salt. 79 needed from 8.
Yeah, I mean, just to see to see those players in those conditions feels like a bit of a novelty as well, particularly this time of year. But also just to see these new faces, the comebacks, all the little subplots, you know, Hills versus Salt, and you know, the return of Woakes, Mark Wood and his pace, you know, Ben Duckett coming in under the radar, Harry Brook showing what he's capable of. I mean, there's so many wonderful little subplots to keep you entertained, and that's just on the England side of the fence. It keeps you engaged.
Here comes Woakes. His penultimate delivery is slashed behind square for 4 runs. And one of the young cricketers that will be playing in the Pakistan Junior League that starts in the next week or so picks up on the boundary edge. It was not a great ball that from Woakes. It was a low full toss outside the off stump, and he immediately threw his head back and shouted no into the night sky. Knew he hadn't got that one right. It matters not in terms of the outcome of this game, but some of the standards of Chris Woakes will be frustrated. 75 needed from 7 deliveries, as we see Shah Masood playing quite a good innings just quietly here. He's on to 56 from just 42 balls. Got Woakes at the end of his mark. 6 floodlights shining brightly. Woakes bowling in the air, could be taken, brilliant catch! Adil Rashid at short third, leaping forward. It's a 3rd wicket for Chris Woakes with his final ball. Shah Masood goes. He made an excellent 56, but what a catch that is. Adil Rashid diving forward, a tumbling take. And there is a spectacular moment for us at the back end of this series, James.
Again, a wonderful bit of bowling from Chris Woakes here. He's gone for his off-cutter slower ball. Probably say it's been a big difference for the 2 teams. It's England's execution of the slower pace deliveries that they've bowled. And a wonderful catch. You can see Chris Woakes there, absolutely delighted for his teammate Adil Rashid, taking that diving catch low to his right. Shah Masood gone for 56 or 43. See, if I was interested to get your thoughts on the reception that, or how people would judge Shah Masood's innings there with regards to his position within the side, and will they think that's been a good innings, or do they think that's sort of killed their side?
Well, there's a couple of ways to look at it, isn't it? It's the second time this series that he would have got a consolation 50. He got 65 in the other game where Pakistan were chasing 221 and never really got close. And similar situation here where he's not really managed to get them anywhere near that total. There's been some questions about, you know, where he fits into that lineup, because originally he tried to bat at number 4 in the national T20 to show that he could play that power hitter slot. I'll break off.
Bowl! David Willey starts the final over. An attempted ramp is missed, but not off stump, which is rocked back. And 2 wickets and 2 balls sees Pakistan slump to 135 for 8. It was an ambitious looking shot. David Willey bowling a delivery which hits the top of off stump, exactly where you want to bowl it, whatever the form of the game, and Mohammad Waseem goes for 5.
This is a brilliant ball again from David Willey. I mean, you don't really know what you're doing as a bat in the situation, chasing 75 off 6 balls. So you may as well play the ramp, I suppose. I don't know, what else are you going to do? So you don't really, you don't judge Mohammad Waseem too harshly based on that shot, but it's kind of been indicative of exactly what James was just saying. The execution of those slower balls, you know, the variation of ways that England do it. That one felt like another one that was quite close to the palm because the seam rotated as you would expect it. Maybe he cut his fingers over the back of it, David Willey. And again, just such a complete performance it's been from England today. Well-deserved victors, it has to be said. Well, they will be in as many as 5, but maybe in as little as 2, Henry.
Could be. 135 for 8 is the score. 75 needed from 5 deliveries. Will not be happening. You see Hasnain come to the middle. 22 years old, right-hander. As David Willey bounds in to bowl. It's drilled through the offside. That's a good-looking shot. There's work to do in the deep for the fielder Wokes. In the end, decides against diving with his hands and just sticks out. Right-footed size 10. Stops the ball. I mean, people always say that looks a little bit amateurish. I don't think he's stopping it if he dives. I think that's probably the most likely way he was going to save that.
Well, I reckon it's one of those where he's thinking, my body's been a bit sore, I've just been through some major injuries. If I take a specky dive out here, bearing in mind this game is done and dusted, we've got a big World Cup coming, he's probably thinking, do you know what, I'll stick with the right boot. Very good football player. I think he was involved with Aston Villa.
Aston Villa, yeah, he's a big Aston Villa fan. He'd be disappointed with the result today, though.
Here comes David Willey. It's been spooned in the air. Can a fielder get underneath it high into the sky? No, is the answer. Brook and Curran running in. And I think both realised that there was no chance. It landed sort of, if you like, at the end of the bowler's mark. As if you were trying to find the one space on the ground where you could play that and it would land safely. It has gone a mile up. And because the fielders were out in the deep at long off and long on, it landed sort of 5 yards inside of the circle and perfectly safely. 72 needed from 3 balls. Here comes David Willey. Trotting in past the umpire. It's going to be signalled wide, so we get a little more entertainment. 71 needed from 3 balls. 139 for 8 is the Pakistan score. If you missed it earlier, runs for David Malan, who scored 78 not out. Harry Brook 46 not out. 30 there for Duckett. 71 needed from 3 balls. As we see Willey running in again. And bowling a delivery which is swung into the offside. And I've got to say, Haris Rauf, that was an impressive pirouette as you played that shot. He gave it absolutely everything. And if Craig Revel-Horwood was watching, that pirouette gets at least a 6.
I don't think they have Strictly in Pakistan. I think they're missing a trick there. It's possible they have a version of it on television now. They're not one that I'm familiar with, but yeah, you certainly want to watch for that.
70 needed from 2 deliveries. It's Hasnain on strike as David Willey is in. Swing and a miss through to Phil Salt, who immediately tosses the ball back to David Willey. And the score stands at 140 for 8. 1 ball left of the series. And what a series it's been. Look out for the Test Match Special podcast on BBC Sounds. Wrapping everything up, looking ahead to what comes next as well. That'll be available later on this evening. 140 for 8 the score. 70 needed from 1 ball. Here comes David Willey. It's in the air. Will it land safely? Fielder running in. Can they get there? No, it'll drop maybe 5 or 6 yards away from Chris Wokes, who gently runs round, picks up that ball, throws it in. 2 runs taken. England win by 67 and win this series by 4 matches to 3. It has been so entertaining. A real privilege to have watched. And at the end of it, though it wasn't as close as it might have been, the fact that we got to a final match James is testament to two high-quality sides bringing us a huge amount of entertainment over the last couple of weeks.
Spot on. It's been brilliant to watch. Absolutely delighted for the Pakistan public who've been out watching the games. Obviously, they'll be disappointed with today's result, but it's been 7 wonderful games of cricket. Huge well done to both teams. Now they're back on the plane, I think tomorrow, shooting off to Australia, and I think all Pakistan are off to New Zealand, I think they might be. But it's been a hard-fought series. Some high-quality cricketers showcasing their skills.
Atif, final thoughts from you.
Well, it's been a joy just to watch cricket take place in Lahore. Just on a personal level, obviously very, very close with the England cricket team, and it's a team that I spent so much time broadcasting and covering, and to see them in a city and a country that's very, very important to me, obviously, has been an absolute joy. It was 17 years in the making, but I really hope it'll happen again very, very soon.
I don't like cricket.